It's rapid reviews.
That's
The last one of the year.
It is the last one of the year until the big one.
Yeah, which will probably actually happen
We
in
have to
January.
do that soon.
We got to stop doing
we have
that,
to do a
man.
Cole.
That's happening in the new year. That's not
There's
going to happen.
no way.
That's not going to happen before New Year.
Hi,
There's
everybody.
No way. Hi,
My name's
everybody.
Nick.
We have so much to do.
We have so much to do this month.
We have so many dreams for December.
And so many are not going to come true.
How are y'all doing? It's time for rapid reviews.
Hello,
As I
hello.
sang in the intro, I am Mike. That is Nick. Be sure to subscribe.
Yes,
you
indeed,
haven't
if you
already,
haven't
and you're
already.
watching us either live, do chat, type in chat. This is live as of
We
this
are live
recording.
indeed.
So if you're watching us after the fact, turn on live chat so you know what we're referencing when we talk to people. We also do a little bit of Q&A with our rapid
afterwards.
review. So if you have any questions about the games we played, further stuff, we'll try to get to them at the end and
Yeah,
stuff. But we have a
indeed.
ton of games to get to because we went to
BGG Con, which is a game-playing convention, and we played, I think, 30 games or 29 while we were there.
That was our kind of our whole goal. Was
Most
to try
of
to
which were new.
get to
So
about 30
I think
games,
it was 56, let me see, 56 games we played this month. I think 37 of them were new.
Whew.
So a very big month.
Yeah, we got a lot of,
everyone
we
chat.
got some like stuff that we've been wanting to get to that are 2023 releases.
Yes.
We are going to be doing our top 10 games of the year that's going to release later this week.
Boom.
So we
gonna
wanted to try
be-
to get to,
Yeah, it's going to be a
you
rough
know.
one. The top 10 games of the year is going to be tough. At the very beginning of every after reviews, we always talk about our new patrons we got last month. We always shout them out as this
Shouts
kind of a
out.
month retrospective. So join our Patreon today if you want to.
Please.
A lot of times we'll have supplemental top 10s. We will have an extra 20 games best of the year over on our Patreon later this week
Yeah.
because that's how good the year was
so
for
definitely
games.
don't miss that.
So we have Lamps.
Thanks for becoming a
Appreciate
patron.
you, Lamps.
We got Vella Venivici.
Vela Venivici, almost like Doug, you know.
That's why I know
yeah,
that. It's
exactly.
because of that.
We have Captive 8 Games. Thank you so much.
We got D. Nickel out here.
Desiree Samples. Thank you so
we
much.
got Dads and Dice. We had the pleasure of playing a game with.
We'll talk
at
about the game we
BGG
played with
Con.
them a little bit later. Thank you,
Yeah.
Dads and Dice. They're a wonderful YouTube channel. You should subscribe to them.
Do subscribe.
We have Alex Edwards.
We got Mark Clam.
And then Katniss Evermead,
Boom.
who is...
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much
that
for those
support.
new patrons. Again, join the Patreon today if you want to. Or
It-
don't if you don't want to.
Hey, you know what? Watching us do whatever the heck we do on the internet is plenty support enough. But if you care to give more and have the ability,
Yeah.
we will always take it. It really helps out. Helps us pay for.
Or if you hate us, do it out of
studio
spite.
space. That's actually great.
$100
$100 out
dollar.
of spite never hurt
yeah,
nobody.
it's a lot of
$100. $100 out of spite.
Let's go ahead and get into it, yeah?
Let's hit it. We're
All
gonna start with
right.
all our new games first. What do you got, Nick?
All the new games first. So, I've played this before, but this is your first time playing After Us.
And then we played it IRL for the first and
Yes.
so far only time as well at BGG Con. So
What
this
do you
is,
think?
This is I love it. This is
Yeah,
a really
right?
interesting deck building game where you are various apes who have inherited the world. The humans are gone. We don't know, but there's relics of the past around.
and it seems like the world's thriving.
What's really interesting is you have a hand of 4 cards every turn, and it's a kind of a tableau building where there's going to be essentially things that are sometimes in the center of the card, things are on the edges of the card, and things on the edge of the card, if you can get them to line up with things on the edge of the card next to it, it'll create a little box that might just give you resources or create like a conversion of like you can spend these 2 resources for 3 points. All sorts of stuff like that. So it's all about like how do I want to lay out my cards on the table before me to create kind of the most, synergistic stuff that I can for this turn, use those resources to buy cards. Each resource kind of pertains to like gorillas or chimpanzees and stuff, which all have their kind of
Thing that they do.
thing that they focus on in the game. It's a really interesting game where you're
Yes.
ultimately trying to get this engine and race to I think 80 points or 40
Yes,
points, something like
it's
that.
80.
It's really fun.
Yeah, I really like
enjoyed it. It's definitely like a heads down on the table
Yes.
game. So if you're looking for that like social,
It ain't that.
It's not going to be that. But I really enjoyed what you did.
I just think it's an interesting way to do a deck builder where like you need to build this tableau and you're trying to put I can put this card here instead and then it's this, but then it doesn't do anything over here. Okay, we try to here. And I just think it's an interesting puzzle. I assume you can solo this game. It might be a fun little solo puzzle because then you can really just get into it.
Yeah.
It's on BGA too. It works really, really well on BGA because you can kind of just flip things really easily.
Yeah.
And I wanted to play it in real life because I was like, I have a hunch this is gonna be a game that's better on BGA. And I actually don't think it is. I think they're pretty equally good in both times.
I was a little worried about that too. I was like, is it going to be too fiddly?
It's
And
weird. It's
wasn't bad.
a bigger game than I was expecting.
The box is larger than I expected because they have a couple of boards that hold the cards
Yeah.
in your score track and stuff. So I was like,
But it's good.
I wasn't expecting that large of a box. I maybe would have loved it to be a little smaller,
Yeah.
but that's a nitpick. So
really,
great game,
really
though.
like After
Really
Us
enjoyed
quite
it.
a bit.
Favorite thing Panasaurus in quite a while, actually.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. We played Apiary. This is one of the games that we
Bees!
wanted to get played. Bees in space. We wanted to get played at BGG Con because we were going to be doing our top 10 games of the year. And this is one of those games that we're like, we know this might make it, so we need to make sure we play it before the end of the year. We tried and do that for certain games. And it's really, really good. This is a new game by Stonemaier Games where you are bees in space. And it's a worker placement game where your bee workers, as you put them out, whenever they get bumped out, because nothing's ever blocked in this game, people can just bump them out, which is pretty cool. But whenever they bump them out, they're going to get stronger. They can get from like 1 to 4, and then after 4, they die. But then you can bring them back and stuff like that.
They go to sleep for a long time.
Dead forever. And so then, but when you put a worker out, a lot of times what you could do in an action is like you basically take workers from this spot and add them together. And so like if you put out a 3, that value will be bigger. Therefore, you can like reach an extra tile or an extra whatever.
You generally want to go there with a lot of strength.
Generally, yeah. So higher end workers are better, but again, if you get to the 4, kind of like Teotihuacan, eventually they'll go back to a 1.
Yeah, but every action space pretty much has like, if this is a 4 here, you get this bonus thing. So it's nice.
It's really
you
cool.
want to like trigger that at the right time.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was really good. I'm not entirely sure how much I like it. I definitely really enjoyed it.
I liked it, I think, more than you.
You did like
really
it more than me, for sure. I definitely enjoyed it, but you can talk because you liked it more than I did, for sure.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. I just like the simplicity of like the actions are not too crazy. I like the theming. There's some people who are hung up on the theme, like, why Space Beast? I'm like, who cares? It's like,
we're going to talk about a
is
game
just
later.
On. Who cares?
That is the weirdest, most unlike the mechanics theme ever, and it's great because of it. We're going to talk about it later.
There you go.
Again, here's the thing. If your game has no theme, put an interesting theme on it, because here's one, people are talking about Apiary a lot. Why Space Beast? Guess what they're doing? They're talking about your game. Yeah. So always put weird themes on your games, in my opinion.
So I got no problem with it. It makes for a cool production. The pieces are really neat and stuff, so I like it.
I liked it too.
Yeah, I thought it was just interesting.
I like
the way you build out your hive and stuff. It's like a lot of fun things to play around with. I really want to play it again.
Really enjoyed it, but yeah, I didn't like quite as much as Mikey did, but I did enjoy it quite a bit.
Nick out here hating.
Wow, out here hating. It was also pretty late that night.
That's true.
It was also like lasting, so I always judge by when I got to play it. We played the new Marine Worlds expansion for Ark Nover. We pre-ordered this a long time ago and got it in. Make sure to play it real quick. It's very good. It's Ark Nova. It doesn't really change that much, to be completely honest.
I was surprised and actually probably happy ultimately that like it's
kind of a more stuff expansion. But this expansion, you add in marine animals, which the main thing that they'll do is they will flush the deck a lot more often if they come up, which that deck is humongous, so they might not. We had like a couple in our game that we played.
Yeah.
There are also these reef cards, whereas if you get this certain animal has a reef symbol on it, every time you get a new reef animal, you essentially get to trigger all of your reef special abilities.
They all
like
make
that,
a little thing, which is nice.
which is super, super cool. Again, if they come up, which they might not, because again, the deck is like this big. I don't think I got any. But the main thing, so to me, like the extra cards are like, they're there.
Fine.
They're doing stuff. That's cool, but
does
it's
not impact
so
the game
much
very much.
if they come up. The thing that's really, really cool is now you have action cards, the normal action cards, but essentially you get to draft out. You're going to have 2 special ones, which are really, really cool. They're going to be doing what the normal special cards do, but just kind of more. Like one of my ones for cards was like I essentially got to snap at higher abilities, or like I think if it was at like 5 strength, I didn't have to discard anything, which was like super cool. So it's stuff like that that makes you a little bit different, and that part of the game is really, really cool.
Yeah, that's the part that I really dug, where it's like that feels the most impactful on the game. And I like that it's like you're only gonna have 2 of your actions that are different and stuff, so it's not massive, and because of that, I don't think you have to worry so much about like the balance of it all. It's like you're drafting the cards anyway, so you have access to them all. But I really enjoyed that aspect, and then the marine world, the marine creatures and stuff, was like a nice add. I just want more animals. It's just fun and stuff. But that part didn't feel like impactful. Like we played a 2-player game where card cycling is always going to be an issue. And it's like we drew like maybe 3 or 4 of those wave cards. So it's like it's not going to change. You're not going to like all of a sudden go through that deck. So it's just like I set your expectations appropriately there.
But I also don't.
we don't care that much about that.
I don't think the deck cycling is that big of an issue in normal Ark Nova. I think it gets way overblown. So I really, really like this expansion. It made a game that is probably my top 10 of all time. Even better. So
really
I loved it. I thought it was great.
Very worth getting for sure.
Yeah. But the art project, which was a big hit with us.
This is a really fun one. This is a cooperative game where we are the art rescue team, ART, and we are trying to rescue priceless pieces of art.
Yes,
from various cities and stuff, and depending on which map you're playing, like we were in Japan in the first one, then the second time we played we were in Egypt.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So you are going around from kind of place to place, and it's a little bit of like the what do I always call it? Co-ops that are like pandemic, like it's
crisis management.
Crisis management.
Yes, it is a crisis management
co-op
yes.
where like there's going to be these the white hand who are like the baddies stealing
these
art
butts
stuff.
right
these
there.
Butts right there who are going to be constantly getting put out on the board.
I feel like they just have a big white hand on their face. Are they Urukai orcs?
Vincent Dutray's getting sued for sure.
Saruman out here wilding.
Like, give me some art. Yeah, so find more Palantirs to stare into. So you are going around.
That piece is sick. Oh, that's tight. Go steal that piece from the Louvre.
Sorry. It's a Renaissance painting. So you're going around, like these hands are getting put out on the cities. You're trying to like stop them from falling, because if you fall, then the city, obviously you can't go to it. You get locked out of it. No art can go there to retrieve and stuff. And as you get more and more art, it gets it scales in terms of like the strength as you go to fight them and stuff. But it's ultimately like a really tough resource management game.
Yes, really.
It is legitimately difficult because you have to essentially play a card every turn. That's like a mission that's going to usually require you to spend some of your resources, maybe put some more of those hands out onto the cities, and then gain either life or resources back. And so you're trying to balance, like right now we need fuel so we can move around. So let me spend some of these guns to get fuel. But what cities is it going to add hands to? Because we don't want to overrun those cities. So it creates really, truly interesting and difficult like turn choices and stuff. And this is from the op, who are like really gunning for like proper hobby games, and it's going to be probably an uphill battle, I feel like, because people don't expect it from them. But like this and other games that they're doing are legit, like super legit, really actual board games, not just like mass market BS or whatever like you would think of. And I'm excited because we had a meeting with them. We're talking about 2024, and they have a whole slew of games that are legit dope.
Yeah, this game was a huge surprise.
Such a huge surprise.
Really, really fun. Yeah, I love the crisis management. Got vintage trait art. It's awesome. Someone asks, do you think the art plays well solo? We haven't played it solo, but I would assume so, because it's just kind of a puzzle. But I really like the art project, and the two maps really felt different between Egypt and Japan. So. Egypt, I think, took the bait a bit on like what the game wanted us to do and completely screwed ourselves and lost horrendously.
You're up and down the Nile River, so you have this like moving thing where you can move down river for free because you're just floating.
Going
up river, you got to pay, and we got stuck on the wrong end of the river.
It was
on the wrong side of the river. We already knew what was going on. We already knew what was going on. God, Risky Business is a good movie, huh?
so many weird.
Someone's brain's going like, no.
Sorry, y'all, we're wilding today.
We're out here, man. Crazy.
We also played the Art Society. We played this at BGG Con. This is kind of like an art.
It's an auctioning game.
It's an auctioning game where you are trying to get art, and you're essentially trying to make the best wall of art that you can. Yeah. And there are certain things you don't want certain things next to. Like you don't want like a landscape next to a landscape because that'd be too much landscape right there. That'd be insane. And there's also like an eye line level. You want certain things in this specific eye line because that's like where you're looking and stuff like that. And then the person gets to choose whatever ones they want to come out, but you don't know what's on the other side. That's what it is.
What?
When you're doing the auction part, the person who's like the main player gets to choose pieces to put out.
Yeah, you basically choose which art pieces are going to be available for auction that turn.
What
you
size
you know the size.
Pieces.
Yeah, you know the size. You don't know what's going to be like what style of painting. So if you're like really trying to fit a certain area, you can be like, I'm gonna put 3 of this size out here so I can hopefully get one of them. But you don't know if it's gonna be a landscape, a portrait, or you know, whatever kind of style of art. There's also this cool thing about like you want to match types of frames together because then you get like decor to fill in the small gaps and stuff. It's a great tile placement, spatially puzzle game that you have to auction for the pieces, and you have these paddles. And the deluxe version is like sweet. We played the standard version, which was nice, but the deluxe one you actually have like paddles you can hold up. And I was like, I do want the deluxe version. Although the standard was actually high quality. So
that's what I was like. There's something with the auction. I forgot you had like paddles.
Yeah, so bids. Everyone has paddles numbered 1 through 20. So you're not doing like I'll bid one more. I'll bid one more. You're going to selectively search, through your hand of 20
I'm gonna choose
paddles.
17 for this one.
Choose one. And basically, the highest paddle gets first pick of the lot. You're all going to get something, but you want to get like the earlier selection to make sure you get the size and shape and all that stuff that you want and the style. And there'll always be one painting left over, and this is my favorite thing. Whatever painting gets left behind, if it's like the red type or whatever, that's going to increase the value of that type of painting. So you're doing that thing where it's like, I want to get a bunch of reds, but I also want the red ones to be left behind because I want them to be super valuable.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of play that game of like, I'm going to take this suboptimal piece because I'm playing for the future and kind of trying to manipulate the market, which I always love in games when they do something like that. Like whatever's left over becomes better.
Yeah.
It makes for interesting decisions. So I really like this game a lot.
I thought it was really good.
We played it 4-player.
Yeah.
It's just great when there's a lot of people and stuff. I
I
think
thought
it
it was
plays
really
up
good.
to 4 people.
The bidding was good, interesting. The tile placement part was interesting.
Yes.
It was, I thought it was really good. I liked it a lot. I thought it was awesome. And then I really like the whole, everyone has the same things, but you can only use each one once. So it's kind of like, do I use my 20 now?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Do I
Once
use my 18 now? Do I not care? So I'm gonna throw out a 2, you know, because I don't care if I choose. I thought that part was really
that
interesting.
management is something that I was like, it was actually tougher because there's some late game things where like, I think I have the highest one, and then like everyone else has the 19 still. It's like, so I played an 18 and go last. I'm like, that's bad.
That's not good.
So that's very cool.
Fun game though.
I liked it a lot.
What is this?
This is Series, a game that I played with my buddy Dan, who I think picked it up. Excuse me. Picked it up in Essen. This is a worker placement game where you're like on the moons of Mars or something, and you're like building up production and stuff. If I'm honest, I don't remember a lot of the pertinence, but I quite enjoyed the game.
Okay.
If you want to give it a knock, it's just that sort of is just like generic worker placement stuff, but actually everything you were doing and I quite enjoyed. So I remember being surprised by it, but it's also slipped out of my mind a little bit because we have played a lot of games this month. But it's a worker placement game.
Well, I saw that on the end. I was like, I think this is.
You send rockets out onto different spots in orbit to go to the other moons and collect your points and stuff. There's a lot of like fun little things in this to kind of get an edge. I actually quite enjoyed it. I would play it again. I remember that.
Boom. There you go. We played Diced Veggies. You really wanted to try this one.
I did. I just wanted to play with a little knife.
It's got a good gimmick. The gimmick is basically you have different veggies, which are dice, which are going to be like carrots and that kind of stuff.
Who knows?
Tomatoes, whatever, colored dice. And you're basically going to roll them and put them in a little frame that's going to make them into like a little grid. And then you have recipes that you are trying to make that are going to require certain ingredients. And then on your turn, you basically have the knife and you get to like cut out stuff from this grid. You kind of like insert it in between dice and then move it out. But you can't move out anything more than 10. So you can't just like, I'm going to take half of this thing. You can never move out more than 10.
The collective pit values have to be.
So there's this kind of like, oh, I really want this one, but that's a 6. And then I need this one, but that's a 5. That's over 10. I can't do that. So like that part is interesting. And then you're basically collecting these things to finish these recipes.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. The gimmick was cute.
It lives on its gimmick 100%.
Yes, and it was an interesting way to have to get dice. I thought the game itself was fine.
Yeah.
But it did have a good gimmick.
It was exactly what I was expecting.
Yes.
I was like, I think this game is going to be okay.
Yeah.
And it'll be really kind of cutesy and fun, and it lived up to that. And so I was happy with what we got out of it.
It's a short game. It's like 30 minutes or so, so it's like filler-ish and stuff like that. So like, and it's not a huge game, which is nice. So yeah, a good little game. But I didn't like.
I just wanted to play with that little cardboard.
Sure, we got it played, and it was fun. And again, like it was the choice of where you cut to get it was an interesting choice. It was good, but it was good.
Absolutely.
Ooh, Mike, we finally played Dimension. I've been wanting to show Mike Dimension for a minute.
It's good.
God, isn't it great?
Fun. I've been trying to get this copy on eBay, and things are weird, but I think I just need to do it on my desktop.
They only take
live. They
stock.
take Danish kroner, dude. It's really crazy, man.
Wow.
So this is a game where, as you can see on here, there's all these like wooden balls of different colors.
Nice components
And stuff. And they're going onto a board that can hold, I don't know, on the base 6 or 8 or whatever. You're going to build a pyramid with them, most likely. But you're going to have rules about how all of these things can be assembled. There might be rules about like orange cannot touch black.
Yeah.
You can't have them ever connected. So you have to make sure if you put one over here, one's over here, and as you build in this 3D space in a way that they're never sharing a side.
Yeah.
They might have things where it's like green can't be above anything else.
Yeah.
The green can never be on a level and there's something beneath it. So, okay, greens have to be on the bottom. And you have to find a way to build a pyramid or as much of one as you can that satisfies, ideally,
6 of these rules.
All 6 of these rules simultaneously.
Yeah.
And the better you can achieve that, the better. One thing we did, which I think was really smart, is play with the house rule. Because you could have it where you draw out cards that are truly contradictory.
Yes.
It's like, well, then you can't complete all 6.
Like, so like orange has to be above, orange has to be below.
like,
You
well,
can't do that.
You can't do that.
So then you just redraw.
So then, redraw until you have a thing where it's just like all of them don't conflict with each other. So it is possible, in theory, to come up with an answer to this puzzle. And you're just trying to build that as fast as you can and as accurately as you can. And you have like, I don't know, 30 seconds or a minute maybe.
It's not very long.
To do it. It's so fun just to build that puzzle. If you like those kind of spatially puzzled and it's in this 3 dimensions because you're building up as well, it's really, really fun.
It breaks your brain. It really does, because you're like, oh no,
really
that can't go here because white can't touch green. Crap. Okay, but then I can't put it here because green can't be on the bottom. Okay, it's really interesting, and yeah, I freaking love it. And this is also a game where like we were playing with Rainer, and he has multiple copies of the game because you can play with more than 4 people. Yeah. There's just 4 pieces, enough pieces for 4 in the box. It's really good. This is a game I want to get so badly. It's just
I got a beat on a copy. So.
Yeah, it's just an interesting puzzle. I'm so glad I got to show it to you because
that's awesome, man.
Because of the fact that like I was like, I think Michael really dig this game, and it was cool to play with people who also really know the game. Yeah, its Dimension's incredible. I think it's an absolute masterpiece.
I loved it so much.
Yeah. We played Empire's End, the Sir John D. Clare game.
Sir John D. Clare, the knight of the roundest table of all.
That's true.
The board game table.
I will say, it was a rough day.
Hold on. Hot take alert. Hot take alert. Okay, is this on?
I didn't like this game.
Oh, they didn't like it.
This is the first John D. Clare game I did not enjoy. I will say it's not because the game is bad. It's because I just didn't like the game. This is a...
I'm not far off from that assessment, but it has nothing to do with the game
like mechanics or anything like that.
It's just the theme is a bummer.
It's not even so much a theme. It's just like,
Well, it's a punishing game.
Yeah, it's basically what happens in this game is you have an empire. You have a certain amount of cards. It's like 10
ending.
cards. And the empire is ending. So
your
every
empire
single
is crumbling.
round...
Your empire will crumble.
Yes. Every single round, one of those cards, like the card that's in your 8 slot or whatever, is going to get destroyed.
Some farm is going to burn down.
Unless you bid so you don't have to take it. This is an anti-bidding game, kind of like No Thanks, where you're like, I don't want that card. I'm bidding to not take it. So basically, whoever is the one who passes, they then have to take that, and then that thing is then going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
That's the game, right?
But you're going to get a card that's going to give you like a benefit or a power you can do.
That you'll put underneath one of your card, kind of space-based style, that will trigger at different parts of the game and stuff like that. But that's what it is. It's like every round, there are we were playing a 3-player game, 1 or 2 things that are going to get destroyed. So you're bidding on both of them. So you can bid on one and say like, okay, that one's gone, but you still have to bid on the other one. And the thing is like, the reason why I didn't like it is because it's just, for this kind of game where like every single round you feel like you're fighting for your life. Like it's just gut punch after gut punch after gut punch because your empire is crumbling around you, which is the whole point of the game, right? Yeah. And so your empire is crumbling around you and you're just trying to like, oh my gosh, I don't have many resources, but like I need to keep bidding because I can't lose this card because this one particularly is like my most valuable one.
Good card
because if you lose like a farm, it's only worth a couple points. But if you lose your city, it's worth like 30 points. So you're like, oh gosh, this is my city. And there's certain things that allow you can move around. So okay, I'm gonna move my city here. And then of course the next thing comes up is that slot. And you're like, oh my gosh, I now have to fight for my life again. And every single round, you're just getting punched in the gut and fighting for your life. And I don't mind that in like a filler game. Yeah. The reason why I don't like this one is because it's just too long. And the game isn't super long. It's only like an hour. But
it's a long hour.
I just don't want to do that for that long. And there was like one time where like my second biggest city got like destroyed earlier because I was like, all right, I don't have the resources. I'm getting outbid. I'm just going to destroy this one. And you can bring stuff back with these like hammers. And so this is like the second hardest one to bring back. I bring it back literally the next round. Guess what's getting destroyed? That one again. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I just spent so much time getting this back. And now it's already like on the verge of getting destroyed unless, again, I outbid people. And something like No Thanks, which is a filler game, a party game, it's a much lighter and that kind of feel. Yeah. I don't mind that kind of like, oh, I don't want that, I don't want that. In this kind of game, it was just way too much. It was just too much of like fighting for your life. By halfway through the game, I was like, bro, I'm done. I'm done feeling this way.
And then you have like a half-hour minimum left after
because
that.
It's every round something is happening. Every once in a while there'll be like a respite where you're essentially running like production and stuff like that to get some stuff. But those are like few and far between.
Very much so.
It's like 5 or 6 rounds of this anti-bidding and then like 1, maybe 2 rounds of that and then like 5 or 6 more rounds of this. And I was just like, it's just too much for me. I honestly think the game is really good in terms of a mechanical standpoint and doing what it's trying to do, which is like this kind of feeling. I just don't want this feeling in a board game.
I completely agree. It's like I can't fault the game mechanically, production-wise. Everything is super good. It's interesting stuff. It is like it's like gamers, no thanks. Like no thanks is very simple. This gives you more things to think about and stuff. But it is it's a really well executed theme for what you're doing because you don't want to bid on those things. So everything it does is good, but I agree. I'm like, it's just super sad in its way where you're like, it's futile. Like the whole thing of like, you're like, oh, I want to end the game where everything's perfect. That will not happen.
Nothing's even good.
You are going to incur tragedy and stuff. And if you think about like the fall of empires, I'm like, yeah, like a lot of people die and suffer when those things happen. You're like, oh, it's famine. I'm like, yeah, famine's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's just, and that's
like, I just don't want to like live in that world and that.
Yeah.
It's not like, this is so fun.
Yeah,
it's
like,
no thanks is fun. It's like, look at this card. It has 33 points. I don't want that.
Yeah, in a game where everything bad is happening, I don't mind if it's like a co-op. Like we were kind of talking about like crisis management games. I like that because at least we're all working together. But in this case, you're bidding against people like, no, you take that crap. I don't want that to happen to me.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't mind that kind of feeling and stuff in a co-op game, but in a competitive game like this, where I'm just like, it was too long. I couldn't. It was the first John D. Clare game. I really, afterwards, I was like, I really disliked that. And that's a bummer because I really wanted to like it.
I think it would have worked better for us if it was like truly like 30 minutes, but it's like an hour plus. Yeah. Like, it's a long time.
It was too much for me. It's too much for me. So, Sir John D. Clare, I love you to death, but this one wasn't for me.
But something wrong with your game or what you designed. That's the thing. It's just the theme.
Look at that cover, though. Maybe one of the best covers. Maybe the best cover ever. It's so good.
It's so awesome.
But yeah. We played Eternal Palace. We played this with dads and dice.
We did. I'll tell you this. The company was great. The game was not.
The game was fine.
The game was okay. I care to never play it again.
We'll talk about it.
I didn't like the game.
Wow. Okay.
It's just
you're building a beautiful painting in this game.
Sure, you're building a fiddly piece of painting where you are layering different things, which is cool. But you're putting on this easel and it falls over 1,000 times. So it's just like, I'm like, this is a neat idea, but it just doesn't work well. So I can't even enjoy the prettiness of it.
This is a gimmick in a game that makes the game harder to play.
Yes, it does. So those are your victory points and stuff. So you do need to get them and all that stuff. But it's ultimately a dice placement game where you are rolling out your dice each turn and putting them onto different spaces that will require different values. Essentially, you can combine dice to make like a 7 and stuff like that. To take different actions. The main thing, like for me, that didn't work is that like it's just very basic in its way, where it's like there's these resources, but all they do is they pertain to like these monuments that you can get that'll have like kind of an escalating cost, and the monument kind of moves around. If you pay 1 to take the monument, then the next time I have to pay 2, but I can take the monument for you, and it's just a point. Or I can do these things that as you get to the tops of these tracks, because every time you go to an action, it basically bumps you up its associated track. And then when you get to the top of it, you complete like that section of painting. You collect that layer, which is a point. To me, all the turns just felt arbitrary. Yeah. It's like, well, I'm going to go here. And it's like, you can do this thing, and if you're ahead on the palace track, you get more dice. You get more, which are your workers, essentially. But then whoever has fewer dice just gets their dice next turn.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I'm not going to focus. Yeah, but I'm not going to focus on the palace track because I'm literally going to get my dice regardless.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm like, why is that in the game then? And then it served no other purpose. So there's a bunch of things like this where I'm like, it's just pretty. And they're like, we need to have spaces for things. I'm like, but these spaces don't matter. So it's just like, I just didn't care at all about what I was doing. I was just like, I am enjoying the talk we're having at the table.
Great.
The company is great, and like in the best way, it's just like when you have a good table and there's good talk, the game does not matter. And good, because this game did not matter to me at all. I could not care less how it was going.
I liked it more than you. I did think it was fine. I didn't think it was like great, but I thought it was okay. I like any game about art, but I do think the easel, again, it was a very cool idea that's ultimately very fiddly. Where people like 3D printed their own thing, so it like leans back more, which I'm like, that's great, but you shouldn't have to 3D print your own thing to make a game more playable. It's got a great look, interesting theme. Same thing. I thought the mechanics were fine. I thought it was kind of the epitome of like, it's fine, like
objectively.
Dads and Dice in the chat. Make sure to subscribe to them. They just hit 1,000 subscribers.
Like I said, the company
great
was
company.
Great.
The game we thought was fine.
Best part of the game.
Yeah,
elevated the game for me, man.
Yeah. I got to play First in Flight.
I'm so jealous.
I know. Our good friend Visher came over to see your show, to see Mikey's play. and he did not like to play, unfortunately, but he did like this game.
Halfway through, he's like, "Can we just play the game
He's
again?"
playing this game
I'm
again.
like,
We're like in the back.
I'm saying my lines.
No, Mike's play was amazing. But so we played First in Flight, which is about kind of the Wright brothers, that kind of era of trying to make a flying machine, and it's ultimately
crazy was that time,
right?
Like, what if it works and you take off? Do you have a plan after that?
I'm
You're in
sure
the
they
air?
have some plans.
Oh my god!
I don't know. It's kind of this is a game where you're going around a rondel and where you land on, you kind of get to do stuff. And essentially what you're doing is you're building out a deck that's going to be your flight deck. And it's a push your luck game where when you finally get to the point where you're flying, which are different spots in the thing, you're essentially flipping over cards. And that's going to be like essentially the distance that you fly. And there are like upgrade cards that are a lot better, but then there's also like damage cards that are happening. If you get a certain amount of like pow-pows, like the damage, you fall basically, and you get decapitated, which is really gruesome, which I thought was weird.
I have questions. No, but go ahead, finish your spiel, and I got questions.
And so I really, really enjoy it. So again, you can upgrade your deck. Everyone has like a special power, and as you kind of like your fame grows as like this person making flying machines, you get to upgrade your card, which is even cooler. And so, but the thing is, what's interesting about the game, one thing I love about the flight aspect of the game, first of all, a push your luck game with this theme, I just think thematically makes
So awesome.
so much sense.
Because that's what they were doing.
Pushing your luck, baby.
They're just
That's all
like,
it is.
well, I hope it goes good.
But what I like about the game is when you're flipping over your cards to fly, and you're flying a certain amount of distance, you're getting some pow-pow, some bad stuff, whatever. At one point, you're like, okay, I'm done. Except for you're not done, because you're still in the air, which means you then have to go down.
And does that mean play X amount more cards?
Yes, exactly. And so that's the thing. And now you basically have to start your descent. So there's that always, it's not even just like, I'm going to stop. No thanks, I'm done. It's not that. It's when do I stop because I have to keep going because you have to go down. And I thought that was a brilliant decision. One, makes sense thematically. And then two, makes the push your luck aspect of it even more interesting. I really, really like this game. I think it's got a great look. I love the theme. I love this kind of time. And I think the mechanics and the theme mesh together so well.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good.
So I had a question. So you're getting as many, my understanding is you're getting as many cards as you can, essentially, to kind of pad out your deck to hopefully be able to draw a bunch of stuff without drawing out your damaged bad stuff?
To a degree. The thing is, a lot of the cards, you're kind of starting with a basic deck, which is all like ones. So you kind of want to get rid of those cards because you want better cards that make you fly. You're upgrading your plane.
Your
so
wings
it's
are
flying
better. And
farther. So not necessarily. And then you can also like repair things. So you can essentially get things out of your deck, but you're also constantly having to get like more bad stuff to go into your deck. So some ways you're trying to pad out your deck, but you don't want to pad it out with a bunch of ones because then you're not going to fly very far because it's got a Castell thing where your starting score is your longest flight.
Yeah.
So the thing is, you don't want your flights aren't cumulative. It's whatever your best one is, that's your starting score. So it's not so much that you want to just be able to make your landing. You want to go as far as possible, and having a bunch of bad cards isn't really a good way to do that.
So, question. Is this game, it's not a direct comp because the other game is not a push your luck game, but a game where you're ultimately drawing stuff out and good or bad things can happen. Is this the game that you wish Taverns of Tiefenthal was?
No, because it doesn't feel anything like it.
Okay.
But
well, they're hammered while they're up there.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. Yeah, they're flying.
I was curious because it's like if you have a bad round, does it bum you out? Because you're like, I drew a bunch of crap.
Not really.
Or you're like, okay, like that's all right. I got those things out of the way. I'll get some cards. The next one will be better.
Because like you can choose when to fly every round. Again, you're going down this rondel. There's multiple flight spots on it, so you can do like multiple flights per round. Like so, it doesn't. Cool. It's not as like. This is what you got this round. You're done. Okay. It's not like that with Taverns. So no, not really, because it doesn't feel anything like it. Cool. But I really enjoy it.
I really want to try this. I love the theme so much. It's such a cool theme.
I thought thematically it was so
What
good.
you like with flying is hilarious.
Ooh, Mikey, talk about Four Shuffle.
Four Shuffle.
We both hate this game.
It's a great game. It's a card game. It's on Board Game Arena. I highly recommend you try it. This is one I originally heard Thinker Themer Amy and Maggie talk about, and it got me interested in it. And I didn't know when or if or what, what its availability would be over here. And then it was at BGG Con for sale. So I'm like, I'm going to snag that because small little card game. It was like $25, $30 maybe. And I was like, well, it's going to be worth that. So let's give it a go. And it is really fantastic. Really I really love this game so much. It is a popular theme these days is like building a nice ecosystem in nature. Yeah. A very popular
It's either
theme.
that or the end of the world.
Yeah,
those are the two themes.
They're
right
also
now.
kind of together.
Yeah,
it's just like our empire is crumbling now, and I'm talking about the world empire is crumbling now, and nature will take back over soon. which will probably be for the best. So, in Forest Shuffle, you are trying to build a nice kind of synergistic tableau of cards in front of you that's all based around trees. So on a turn, you can either draw 2 cards from either the kind of discard area in the middle of the table or the top of the deck, blind. You can draw 2 cards, or on a turn, you can play 1 card from your hand to your tableau. And the cost for the cards will be paying cards from your hand. So you have to get rid of cards to play cards, and that creates interesting decisions because if it's out there now in the clearing, the forest clearing, you or maybe me or someone else can maybe pick those cards back up. So I don't want to pay a card that's going to be like perfect for my thing. Bye. And as you build out trees and stuff, each tree in your tableau becomes kind of like a home base for other cards to play. So the trees have 4 sides to them because it's a card. And there are the other types of cards that will have animals, plant life, mushrooms, insects, and stuff that are going to be split cards. They're going to be split down the middle, so there's a left half and a right half, or a top and bottom half. And they slot in around those trees, so each tree can hold 4 cards around the 4 sides of it. And all these cards are going to be like all sorts of stuff.
For every this you have, you'll get 2 points at the end of the game.
Yeah,
just like stuff
you might get
like
a deer. It's like for every deer you have, you do this. There's these like rabbits, and like they basically chain together, so they're worth however many rabbits you have. So if you have 5 rabbits, each rabbit's worth 5 points. You get 25 points, and then there's like a fox that like who's going to eat those rabbits. That fox is going to get 2 points for every rabbit you have. So then it's like again, you're kind of creating these ideally synergistic kind of combo chains for points, or certain ones that are like butterflies, which are like pure set collection, a ton of stuff, really a ton of stuff. It's so fun to try to put together, you know, all these things that kind of feed into one another. It's really good, really fun to try to do. And the turns are dead simple. Either draw 2 cards or play a card. How do you pay? Play cards. It's really so nice. Really good. So nice. I really like this one a lot.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's a great, great size game. It's a great game you can travel with. I mean, it's very good.
He plays up to 6 players, so it's awesome. I really like that game a lot. Contender for top of the year for sure.
Yeah, it's up there. Ooh, my God. I put this on the new list. We technically played this game before.
I mean, but it's way before we even started tracking games by a couple years, so effectively it's new. We had to relearn it.
We had to completely relearn it. I knew it had something to do with beer, and that's about it.
It's like a sunny side of the board.
Heaven and Ale is a kind of a bigger, actually it's not a huge game. It's not that complicated, but a Euro game that's a really super tight Euro game in terms of like resources. You're getting these tiles. And these tiles are going to be different resources to make beer. So you have like wheat, barley, hops, that kind of stuff.
All those things.
And you are, on your board, you have a sunny side and then you have a shaded side. When you get these tiles, you can put them on either side. But how much it costs depending on which side it is. If you're put on the shady side, it just costs whatever it costs. But if you want to put it, and so if it's like a 5 tile, that tile's going to be $5. But if you want to put it on the sunny side, it's going to get a lot more sun. It's going to yield a lot more, but it's worth double. So you have to pay $10 to put it over there. And that is such a tough decision because money is super, super tight in this game. And then essentially you're trying to trigger these tiles then, and they're essentially going to allow you to go up these scoring. Every type of resource, water, again, hops, wheat, all this kind of stuff, is scoring on your board, and then basically you want all of those as high as possible.
Yeah, because basically only your lowest value one will be your kind of
your score basically, So, and it'll have a multiplier depending on how far your brewmaster is. And so the thing is, if you trigger something on the sunny side that's like a 5, you'll get 10 essentially. So
well, it's not that you get 5. If you have like a 5 wheat or whatever, you're on the sunny side, your wheat marker is going to move 5 spaces up. If it's on the shady side, you're going to get that much money. So essentially you're either making money from your stuff or you're increasing your production.
And you need money to pay for these tiles, but you need production is how you win the game. So it's like,
and money's real tight.
So it's that constant tough decisions. And on top of that, the way you get all these things is on a rondelle. You have a certain, and once you get to the end of the rondelle, your turn is over. So you can move forward as far as you want to get this tile that you really, really want. You really want this 3 water because it's going to fit in perfectly right here. But then you're that far forward, and then you can just, you can run out of space and stuff like that. And you also get these monks that will trigger as you put them down.
Well, essentially like re-trigger tiles, which is massively important because it's a whole thing of like, if I put like something that cost me $5 to acquire and I put it on the shady side,
and you never trigger
it, I can only get my investment back. I'm not actually making anything off of that. So you have to ideally get some monks out there to re-trigger stuff to like make it truly worth whatever money you put into it, which is really interesting. So yeah, they go out there, and then there's all sorts of like, I guess objectives, for lack of a better word. These bonus cards you can get throughout the game and stuff based on like what you've played out, what you've made use of. So you're just trying to extract as much as you can out of like these meager resources that you have.
Yeah, it's really good.
Bump up your productions, and it's just really fun.
Because it was too heavy when we first played it, and so we wanted to play it for years again. Just because we're like, I feel like we're gonna like it. And I really, really enjoyed it. It's a super, but it's tough because you're like, you can sometimes pay for a tile, put it out, and you just never end up activating it. And you're like, wow,
which is not ideal.
I wasted a lot to do that, and I never even activated it. And so it can be a pretty punishing game. But it's really, really fun.
I really liked it, and I want to try the expansion because I'm curious if it opens it up at all. Or if
it seems like it does a little bit,
Love that game, though.
We played Ice. We played Brain in a Jar.
Brain in a Jar, one of
this
our
is a
favorites.
weird game.
It is. It's a game all about digging down, and that is represented in this kind of like 3D board that is just
5 layers thick.
5 layers of tiles put out onto each other, and it is a nightmare to set up. Yeah. It is awful. But...
it's an interesting game.
It creates a really cool thing because you have basically all these different layers of ice, and you're starting off on the surface, and you and your team of excavators are digging down, which will be you flipping out tiles and then dropping down onto the levels below, where things kind of start getting more and more valuable for you. And you're trying to reach the bottom is one of the ways you can trigger the end is by taking one of the tiles out of the very bottom of the kind of caverns. So thematically, super cool game.
Yes.
I love the idea. I love the look of it and everything like that. It is an interesting game. I don't know if I like loved it, but it was... it was definitely neat and different.
Yeah, and like
I've not played a game quite like that before.
Everyone has like a special power.
Excuse me. Yes, that are all like pretty rad.
Yeah, and like you're getting these tiles, which then give you essentially these symbols. These symbols then you can like trigger once you have like 2 of them to do like other kind of abilities and stuff like that. But then you also want to score them at the end of the game, so you need to like move them from this side over to this side to score them.
But then you can't make use of the power.
Then you can't make use of the power and stuff. It's cool. Again, I would try it. It's like the setup is pretty wild, but I actually do think it's worth it because that's like the point of the game is you're digging down. And it is cool because again, the board is this thick because you have 5 or 6 layers of tiles. And it's cool as you go down and like you're going down and down and down, but like to get to this tile, you have to excavate everything around it so it's completely free, and that can be tough. It's really hard to get to the bottom. I thought it was really cool. I don't know, like I definitely don't need the game. I would definitely play it again. I thought the game was like more cool than it was good.
Me too.
But it was still good.
It's a little more style over substance.
Yeah, it was still good, but it was more cool than it was good.
Agreed. It was neat. The one thing I'll say is that we played 3-player, and like I kind of feel like you have to play like 4.
I would not want to play this game 2-player. You wouldn't be able to dig anything.
It gets really hard because it's kind of labor intensive to like dig, and then again to your point, if I dig out this one thing, there's 3 things beneath it, which is cool, but I can't dig those out because they're all covered by many other tiles.
Yeah.
So you kind of
can't just like dig straight down.
Yeah, you kind of need to go where a lot of other people are because it's actually going to be easier to work your way down. But you don't want to set other people up either. No. So we all kind of went to our own corner and then realized like, oh, this is really hard to get down to the bottom.
Yeah, whereas a 2-player game, you would like not excavate anything. Like in a 3-player game, we got a decent amount. We got 1 tile out from the very bottom. I think you'd want a higher player count because just more stuff would get excavated. I think it'd make the game more interesting.
The turns aren't super complicated, so it'd go by quickly enough. But yeah, it was definitely cool. Very cool game.
Interesting game, yeah.
Because those ice is cold.
Cold stuff. Yeah, interesting. We played Insecta, the Ladies of Entomology. This game, I think, is the epitome of it's fine, which is we had a lot of fine games because we were just kind of because at VGCon we're just like picking up stuff and trying it. I was really excited about this game because we heard about it and I love the look of it. I love the theme. It's about entomology and like the really cool kind of like women pioneers of this science, which is really cool. And just like I like games about science. And there's not really games about like entomology, which is the study of bugs, if you didn't know, the study of insects. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And it's got this really great look to it. Yeah. And it's like this tableau game where you're kind of going to different regions of the world. Yeah. Like you're going to like Asia or in like North America, South America, and essentially studying insects from that time and building out this tableau. And essentially you have like kind of like missions, like correspondence with people back home. And they want you like, hey, I want you to collect this kind of thing. And so basically what that is, you put that tile into your tableau and you want to surround it by different insects, or you might want insects in its row or column. You're basically trying to fulfill
Satisfy those.
They're essentially contracts, is more or less what they are, for lack of a better word. And then when you fulfill them, you get to like flip them over, you're going to get points and things like that. So that's what you're doing, is you're getting these contracts, and you have to build out your thing in like a checkerboard pattern where it's like insects, contract, insects, contract. You can't put them like next to each other.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting.
I like that.
Everything was just like, it was fine. It was kind of like the epitome of like, the mechanics are good, but there's absolutely nothing special about it.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was fine. It was good. I was really excited because I loved the theme and the look of it, and it was okay.
Yeah, it was. That's all. Yeah, that's all I can like say is like it was just sort of basic, in a way that like it didn't leave a lasting impression.
No, it's not gonna catch it.
I love the theme. I love straight up that they're like, this is about like the women of this field that like obviously throughout history get forgotten to time, and don't get credit for the work they did. That was super cool, but there was no like celebration of that in the game. It was just like
everyone has a special power, and they do have like a little bio of like each of these, like what they did.
Like, I highly recommend you read, but I was just like, oh, I wanted to like give you a more robust game here to like so we can really celebrate them properly.
Yeah,
so
it's just kind of a set collection game. It's fine.
Yeah, but the tableau, the whole like the checkerboard thing, I enjoyed. That was fun. So yeah, solid, but it was just kind of like, right, and then you move on.
All right, yeah, exactly, kind of. But we played Campfire Delve Vainglorious Grotto. Incredible Dream loves their long names.
They do. They be getting
the long names.
We can shorten, guys. We can shorten it down. We can shorten it down.
This is I was gonna say a sequel to Campfire Chronicles. It's not that.
It's set in the world.
Same world, yes. But this is a game where you are trying to get to the bottom of this deck. It's a cooperative game, and you are essentially trying to get to Vainglory, which is kind of like the big boss that you're trying to fight. It doesn't play anything like it, but it's kind of in a similar sense of like 20 Strong, which we talked about last month, where it's like you're essentially trying to get through a deck to get to like the kind of boss fight. And it's got the thing that Campfire does where on your turn, you're going to be playing out these cards. You're trying to put progress on these various missions, enemies, and stuff that are around the main card in the middle. There's going to be 4 of them, and basically they're all going to have a progress limit. Once you hit that progress limit, you have then completed that one, and then that card goes away, and then you usually get some kind of benefit. So you're playing a card, and then you have to match things. So like this card, I can put 3 progress on a blue thing. And you're like, okay, cool. But then you can do what you do in Campfire, which you can boost. So you can constantly play cards on other people's turns.
Help you out with that.
And on the bottom of your card, it has a boost amount. Like, oh, if they're playing this on a blue, I can then play this card and give them 1 more progress. And that's what you're trying to do. And I really, really like the game. I think it's super fun because it's an interesting game where you're always playing with the deck, but the most common reward you get is what's called delving, because you're trying to get to the bottom of this deck.
Yeah.
So when you finish this card, it'll say delve for 4. So you put that card in the discard pile, and then you just take the top 4 cards of the deck, put them straight in the discard pile. So you're delving down deep, which is cool because we played this game a couple times, and each time we played it, we're coming across cards we've never seen because the first game we played it, we delved right past them.
Yeah, it'll take you several games to play before you see everything. I'm sure there's stuff that we still haven't
Probably.
seen because
and a lot of the cards
delve through 2/3 of the deck, probably.
And then if you fail, if you basically try to put progress on a thing, but you don't complete it, you're going to get some kind of drawback. Mostly it's going to be you losing health.
Lose cards.
I think it's really, really fun. It's really small. It's portable. You can bring this to again like the airport or something like that. Really enjoyed it a lot.
I totally agree. I really enjoyed what you get to do. It's nice and quick. It's in a cool world. There's another one that's coming that you'll be able to like mix and match the characters from. So if you like Campfire Chronicles or are interested in that kind of world, this is a great way to kind of get a feel for like the art style and like what you're dealing with. And so I enjoy I don't have to bust out the big game and get into a whole big chapter of a story.
Yeah.
I can just play something using those characters and some of those mechanisms that you're familiar with, which I think is a really cool idea.
Yeah, I thought it was really, really fun. I'm digging these kind of smaller games that have been coming out.
Plus it's small.
Like you played Llama Party Edition.
Party Edition with the pink party llama.
You did.
Llamas in there. Llama is a game that we played.
It was a Dice Tower
2018
East,
Dice Tower
ago.
East, a very long time ago. And I enjoyed it then, and I enjoyed this version now, where it's basically Llama, with the exception of like there's the normal llamas, which are worth like 10 points. You don't want points in this game. And then there's the pink llamas, which are worth 20 points, which is extra bad. So you are, who knows? You are on a turn, if there's like a 1 out there in the middle of the table, you can either play a 1 or you can play 1 number higher. You can play a 2 if you need to. So you're trying to hopefully, if you can't play, you have to draw a card. You're trying to get rid of your hand, because if you get rid of your hand, you have no points. That's great.
Yeah.
And you get to get rid of one of the chips in front of you, which again, your chips that you collect are points, and you basically, the game will end when someone gets to 40 points, at least in this edition.
Yeah.
Which means you've lost, and whoever has the lowest score wins.
Yeah.
It's just fun, it's quick, it's silly, it's light, there's very little decisions to have to do, but you can get a little tricky about how you play out your cards to hopefully be able to play and be the only one to play while everyone else is drawing and go out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's a fun, light game, and the party llamas are extra fun because they're pink and colorful and they have party hats.
They're freaking raging, is what they're doing.
So I like llama.
Yeah. Yeah, I played that once. I remember enjoying it, and I have no recollection of the game.
Dead
I was like,
simple.
it's been a long time.
Reiner Knizia, you know how we do.
Yeah, how we do. Mike, we played Maloney's Inheritance.
We did.
We sure did, Mike.
This game is so
Shouts out to
fun.
Reiner.
This is an old Sid Saxon game.
1988, I believe.
Yeah, from the 80s.
Yeah.
And it's got a bonkers map. We put it on our community wall here on YouTube a while back. The map is insane. It was clearly made by people who have never set foot in this country.
Yeah.
Because you're going around the United States, or a version of the United States, where Phoenix is
It's a
at
fantasy
the Canadian
game.
border, essentially. It's way up
Yeah.
there north. It's weird. But you are going to different cities, and you have basically all these cards. Maloney, your uncle, has passed away and basically had all these houses, all these different cities, and you're going to them to basically collect your inheritance.
Yeah.
But you have these cards that pertain to the various cities and stuff, and they are all worth money. But depending on what day you're there, they might be worth more or less money. So
yeah, if it's Wednesday and you're in Phoenix, this card's worth a 6.
Yeah.
But if it's Tuesday, it's worth a 1.
Yeah.
Because theme.
Who knows why? Who knows why?
Why? I don't understand. It's a really fun game. I don't understand the days of the week thing at all.
It's super weird. It's super random. All of it's super random. But it's really fun. So you essentially, if you're in Sacramento, which is one of the cities, it's going to give you a range of like cities you can go to from that city. So you might be able to go to cities 1, 2, and 3, or 13 through 16 or whatever. And so when you're in a city and you've wrapped out that city, you are going to then do an auction and bid on being able to choose where you go next.
Yes.
Because I might have a card that's 1 through 3 that's going to be really valuable tomorrow. So I really want to win the bid so I can make sure we go to the city I want to go to so I can turn in my cards for high value. But if Nick wins the bid, he can decide where we go, and it may or may not be something I want to go to. And you don't have to turn in your cards if you get to a city. You can wait, but you have to hopefully be able to get back around to it. So you're trying to get as much money as possible from these, and I think this first like $60 or something wins.
Yeah.
There's these little tokens, these little briefcases you get, which might give you some straight up points or some extra money on hand. It's just really fun to like, or I say you're getting money, but you're actually getting points and stuff when you go turn in your inheritance stuff. But it's really fun to try to get to the right city at the right time. And bid on that, and then also what city you're on, and determining what cities you can go to, because you can't just go any old place any old time. So it was really actually
really
quite a fun game.
I think it's a really fun game. It's just such a weird. It's just so much like in 1988 kind of game.
Look at that
made
cover,
by a
you're
bunch
like,
of Germans who probably haven't been to the United States, and just like hilarious map. But the game itself is good. Like it's a good game. It's just so weird and funny. But like the game itself is solid and fun. Yeah, I liked it.
Enjoyed it a lot.
Shouts out to Reiner. It's good. I'm going to play Monumental.
You did. It's been a long time.
It did, yeah. I put it on the new one because it's been so long. I had to renew it. But Flat River Group sent us this game along with a couple other games.
Shouts out Flat River. Appreciate you.
And and so we got to play this game with our friend Jimmy. This is a deck building civ game, area control game ultimately, where you take on a civ, like you have like Greece versus Egypt on the cover here. You can be like China, Japan, Denmark, Egypt, or Greece. And each civilization has like a set of culture cards that will essentially make them different, and then you have a special ability. And basically what you're doing is you are putting your cards, your deck building cards, into essentially a 3x3 grid. And you're going to activate a row and a column, which is ultimately going to be 5 cards. So it's a good way of basically like you're going to play 5 cards in your turn.
We
This
have
is an
9
interesting
to
way do
choose
it.
from, essentially.
Exactly. And then at the end of the round, you'll take all the cards that you used out of your grid and then refill your grid. So the cards you didn't use stay there. So sometimes you're like, ooh, I want to trigger this a little bit later. I'll leave it there for right now. But basically you're going to get 3 things: production, science, and then military. Production is how you're going to buy new cards. Those cards will go on top of your deck, which is a great thing. I love when deck builder games give you the card basically immediately. Yes. It's just so much better. So you will get it on top of your deck. Science cards give you knowledge. Knowledge cards will go behind your cards in your grid, which essentially will just boost them, which is nice. And then military is where the area control parts come in. For every military point, you get to move like one of your troops. It's super, super easy area control where like each hex has a defense value. So if you're in the mountains, defense value is like 3. So if you want to take over that hex, you need to have enough troops in there that are the defense value plus 1 essentially for every troop in there. So if Mike had 2 troops in there and he's on a hex of 2, I need to have 4 troops. If I move 4 troops in there, I win that hex. There's no rolling dice. There's no like any of that kind of stuff. But then on top of that, Mike's people don't get destroyed. They just go back to his capital, and then Mike can like move them back out.
They do the old Monty Python runaway.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Super simple area control part and then you're just doing civ stuff. You're like getting culture tokens.
Building world wonders.
You're getting culture tokens so you can put out cultural policies, which give you special bonuses and stuff. I think it's really, really fun. We also have the expansions I'm excited to play with, which have there's like 5 new civilizations, bunch of new stuff. I think it's a really solid game. We've been trying to get this game played since we played a long, long time ago, and just kind of couldn't find it anywhere. And then it's good. It's good. I didn't love it quite as much as I was expecting to, because I remember like really, really, really enjoying it.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's really solid.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really solid.
So I'm never going to get to play it because Nick's done with it already.
No, it's good.
Burnt on it.
It is good. It's very good.
Burnt.
Play Moon River, Mikey.
Moon River.
The now 5th King Domino game?
Something like that. It's in the King Domino line of games. They keep
getting better, to be fair.
Yeah.
No, and they started off great.
They keep doing a great job. So this one is really kind of a departure from King Domino in that you're still building a 5x5, at least in a 3 and 4 player game, grid of tiles, but you're only drafting half a tile at a time. Yeah. You're getting a plot of land. This one you're like ranching and stuff. But each one is basically half of a domino that has these little puzzle pieces, which you can probably make out in the cover right there.
It's like right there.
And then when you have 2 of them, and you can store up to 3 of them on your board and choose. At any point on your turn, you can basically take 2 halves, put them together, which creates a domino, and then place it out into your grid,
own dominoes,
following kind of normal King Domino rules, where at least one half of it has to match a landscape that's touching, or there's a few parts on your board that are essentially wild. And what you're doing in this one is building out those groups and stuff, but you need cattle on the lands, which are going to be those point multipliers. So rather than like the crowns in the original King Domino, there's cattle, and there's certain tokens you can get that will help you move your cattle around to kind of maybe maximize a certain area that you've been building out. There are these different tokens that will there's like resources that you'll see. There's like corn, which we've learned, do not let people run away with that because they will win.
OP.
There's gold and beavers and stuff. And there's tokens that might multiply the value of those on your tiles. The cornfields are just really valuable, but you can't move cattle through them. So that kind of creates like blockages and stuff. You can steal people's cattle and stuff like that. So there's a lot of fun things. If you like King Domino and want like a little bit more of a puzzle, but it doesn't go like to us like where Queen Domino went, where you're like, it's just a little too much. This seems to slot in nicely in that like, I really liked the halves of the puzzle pieces, so you can make the kind of terrain types that you want.
Yeah, I like being able to make my own dominoes. I thought that was really cool. It was
super cool.
Everything else, it could have been literally just King Domino after that and nothing new.
Yeah.
And I still would have liked it a lot more because now I get to make my own dominoes. I think that's really, really cool, actually. So
yeah,
I really liked it.
Really liked it. Highly recommend.
Yeah, keep making more King Dominoes. You keep making them cool. So I'm down. We played Oorn. We actually had a playthrough of this come out yesterday, so make sure to go watch that. Yes. Oorn, Into the Deepwood. This is a very
human-sized
board game. I think no pun included called it that. And I'm like, that's pretty accurate. It's very large.
It's big. We got to fit all these giant rats.
They're
that mini was like this big.
It's humongous. Oorn here, which is a campaign game where you are kind of a boss battler to a degree, where you're going to have a story phase where you're going to be essentially trying to find the encounter, but you have a bunch of different story stuff you get to do, which is super cool.
Some certain definitely like side questy things and that. It's like, you can go over here and check this out, or you can try to find clues.
And you get
for what's going
allies and
on.
all this different kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
really cool stuff.
But essentially, then you get to the encounter. The story part's probably like 30, 45 minutes. And you get to the encounter, which is essentially you can be fighting a big boss. The first one, you're fighting the big old rat. And then you fight, and you're always playing with 4 of these oaths sworn, no matter what player count you're at. So Mike and I were each playing 2.
Yep.
They're all pretty darn different. They have their own ability deck. They do kind of different stuff. And I actually really liked it. This is one of those games where like we'll never play this game because we just don't have time to play big campaign games like this. But I wish
certainly
we
not
did.
to the degree where we'll get through it.
Yeah.
Not for a while either. Anyway,
I
maybe
really wish we
someday
did
in
because
life.
it's really, really good. It's got a really interesting card playing system called the Battle Flow system.
Yeah, the battle flow system is really interesting. So essentially, as you play cards,
They go to a cooldown.
They go into a cooldown track, which is just around your little player board, and to get them to cycle back down and ultimately get in your hand, you have to essentially play another card into that same slot, which will battle flow everything else down one slot.
Yeah.
So you're kind of trying to like, if I have 2 things in my 2 slot, I want to play another card here, so those go down to the 1, then play a 1 card so that those go down to my 0, which means at the end of that round, I get those cards back. So there is an interesting kind of sequence, and there's tokens you can get that allow you just to battle flow a card. But that whole thing of like, how do I, because they're not just going to auto cool down.
No.
So how do I make sure I get my cards back? And the powerful ones obviously are going to like be like a 2 or a 3, so it's going to be harder to get them back in your hand. I really enjoyed that a lot. I thought that was really kind of cool. This, I mean, a lot of people compare this to Gloomhaven. A lot of people have said this is better than Gloomhaven. I probably would put it in that category simply because they're both mechanically robust when you get to the fights. Gloomhaven is probably still slightly more interesting with like just the top halves, the bottom halves of cards and stuff. And one thing to know is like we only just played the beginning, so
one, right?
I don't know how like powered up your characters get or how interesting they get. With Gloomhaven, it was quite a bit as you would go through and level, and so I imagine it's the same here.
Yeah, because you unlock ability cards. We played with our starting ones because we start with. And so,
and even
like,
that was like there's some asymmetry and stuff. But one thing I'll say that this game seems to do better than Gloomhaven is the story half is much more robust.
Yes.
And I think Frosthaven maybe did that better than
so.
Gloomhaven. We haven't played that. But this one, you're going from location to location. Their story, the app gives you like
it's a proper game.
It reads you the story to you, so it's very cool. There's interesting decisions. You're doing checks, and you kind of are in that part for a while.
Yeah.
And I liked that, like in Gloomhaven, when we were playing, like I didn't care what was going on.
Whatever the city event
okay,
was,
bro, go fight these people, whatever.
Yeah.
Here, it's a much more. You're kind of going around and
more immersive. Yeah.
More immersive. So that was really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. I think the gameplay of it was really, really good. I get why people like it as much as they do. It's really, really good. Yeah. And then, we all felt very different in terms of what we did. All the Oathsworn felt very different. It was cool. I really, especially, it'll also be tough to get to the table because you have to play with 4 Oathsworn. And you can play with like simpler ones called Companions. Sure. But it was cool. I think, honestly, weirdly enough, it's weird to say this, I think this game would probably be best at 4. Because then you only have to focus on your own.
I think it might go a little bit quicker because you can really think about one, and like when it gets your turn, you're like, I know what I'm going to do.
Yeah. And so
it was hard to be like, okay, this person.
Okay, this
person. But you can. There are one thing that like this game has done is they've thought through like seemingly every possible way people could want to play this game.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, if you don't want to have to like make all those decisions, there are companion versions of all those people that sort of run themselves.
They're just way simpler. They have way less options of what they can do.
But you can do that. So if you don't want to play truly two-handed, you have an option. Evan just mentioned about there are cards you can draw to do your checks, or there's dice you can roll. You can choose, because for some people that are like more cursed with dice, they're like, I don't want to roll dice. They're like, okay, well, here's a card system instead. I will say, after having played it, I think I would prefer the dice for simply
I actually disagree.
Ease of play.
I thought about it more because here's my thing, dude.
When they got into it, you can card count a
It's
little
because
bit.
you can card count. There's only so many misses in that deck because you're basically drawing out cards. If you draw 2 blanks, you missed. There's only so many misses in a deck. Whereas if you're rolling 8 die, you could technically roll 8 misses.
You could.
And every time you roll the die, that ratio resets.
That's true.
And there were times where like we've drawn a lot of misses out of this deck.
Let's go for a big hit,
Which means the next ones can't be misses. I actually think
So
that
I like you have
the
the option.
strategy around those things, but it's like,
like
also if you don't want to do a story, you can essentially do called like a quick start thing where it basically like gives you like a blurb that tells you the story. You get all the stuff you would have gotten in the story and you can just go straight to the encounter.
Yeah, again, they thought of all of it. They thought of like everyone's tastes and styles. and gave you options for all of it, which is really cool. And I imagine was a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
But they did that. So I appreciate the publisher on that integrity level of like, we're going to give you basically no reason to not play this game.
Yeah.
Unless you just have a fear of giant rats, which is fair. They're not all giant rats, but the first one really is.
It really is.
So I appreciated that. We're like, wow, they like, you don't want to read the story? All right, here's what sort of happened and here's the stuff you got.
Yeah.
Go ahead and go fight. Great.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's cool. I really liked it. I really liked it a lot. I thought it was outstanding.
Very cool.
We got to play Outback.
We did.
This is a game when we're at BGG Con. Mike, I can't remember what you grabbed, but I was like, Mike was going to learn a game. I was going to learn a game.
You're like this?
I ran into it. I was like, I don't know. It's Michael Kiesling.
Made
I'll
a
grab.
Zool.
And I like Hook, which is the publisher, a lot.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, all right, I'll grab Outback
Nick,
here.
Here's a question. This is on sale right now from R&R Games doing a holiday sale. Are you buying it?
No, it was aggressively fine.
Aggressively mid.
It was
Listen,
aggressively fine.
Michael Kiesling's made many classic games.
classic
Don't need to
games.
prove anything to us.
No.
But this didn't prove anything to us.
This didn't prove
You know
anything
what I'm
else. It is this game where there is this like little Jeep that has a bunch of animals, and you're trying to get the animals back out to the Outback, and you have your own little Outback board.
Cool theme. Cool.
And then,
theme.
so there's like a koala and like a wallaby, and then like a lizard, and then a platypus. And basically, you're rolling out these dice like Yahtzee style, so you can re-roll them. And you're trying to get the same things. You want to roll a bunch of kangaroos or whatever. And then the things that you roll, as long as you roll 2 of them, you get to take one of those things from the Jeep, if it's there, of course, and put it onto your board. But on your board, there are different rows. There's like row 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I think 7 on the advanced side, because there's an advanced version of the game. And so the thing is, if I roll 4 kangaroos, I can then take a kangaroo and put it in my 4th row, because it takes 4 to put it there. But there's also like a bunch of different spots in the 4th row, but there's like the 6th or 7th row, there's only like 1 spot.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where like, as you're rolling them out, you are trying to think like, oh, actually I have 4 platypuses, but I actually don't want 4 because my 4 row is already full.
Right.
I want to put this in a 3 or 5. So you then can try and roll out and get that. And then basically when you put something into your board, you then score 1 point for that. And then each animal, kind of like Heaven and Ale, which is another Michael Kiesling game, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah. Basically, all your animals
Same
are
game.
essentially going up a track and around, scoring a certain amount of points.
So you want them all to be high level.
High level, exactly. And so if I like put a lizard down and there's one little lizard, I get 1 point. But if I put a lizard down and it's next to another lizard, I get 2 points. So you're gonna score 1 point for the tile, and then every
So we make big groups of the same animal.
in that big group.
But you
And
also want
so-
to do all the animals. So how do you do that?
And it's what?
Well, say you want to do big groups of all the same animal, so you get super bumps on that. But you got to do all the animals. So how do you make those 2 things happen? Simple
Exactly. Which is like, again, fine decisions. The game is just, again, like it's fine.
things? It's just sort of like wacky looking and stuff, and like weird.
It's just, it was fine. It was, again, it's like the
It's fine.
epitome of like, it was fine.
Yeah, putting out your little tokens and stuff is all interesting enough. But I was just like, okay,
Like, I would play it again if someone really wanted to play it.
Sure.
But it was fine.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not like I would never play it again. It's just not what I'm jumping toward.
This game was weird.
Perspectives is fascinating.
Yeah.
This game is one that we saw some folks playing.
And then
some
played
of the
around
BGG
with
crew,
them, yeah.
Scott, who owns BGG, runs it all, was playing with some folks. And we got so sucked into what was happening that
We were just watching them play for a little bit.
Yeah, they essentially dealt us in, and we got to help finish the story. So I think there's like 3 or 4 or 5 odd stories in this box, and you are essentially what it comes down to is you're trying to put together
a puzzle.
a puzzle.
And
Like
everyone's
there's a
got
mystery
a piece of the puzzle.
and you all have a different piece of the puzzle, and you're trying to explain the pieces you have without showing them to anybody to collectively put the image together, essentially.
Yes.
So,
Like what happened?
yeah, so they were the story that they're going through is like there's basically stuff with a band, and someone had died, and they're trying to get to the bottom of like what all happened. You're figuring out the motives and all sorts of things, but they do it in these interesting ways where you're getting pieces of the story. And what really sucked us in was like the part that we saw,
Which is by far the most interesting
which
one.
I thought the whole game was, and I
Me
would love to
too.
see this. Like they all had these cards that were basically different images from CCTV, like security cameras.
Yes.
And they
At
all were
different
like over
times.
this like 3-minute stretch,
Yes.
and they all had different views and different minutes. So like 3 different people might have the same view of the lobby, but at different times. So you're trying to say like, okay, where was the person with the mohawk at this time?
Yes.
Oh, I see them there at the stage rocking out. Okay, cool. you're trying to figure out like someone that basically had disappeared, slipped away backstage.
They went to the dressing room.
They went to the dressing room, and so you're trying to figure out like when and who disappeared for a while, and where did they come back and stuff. And I was like, when I saw that, I thought that was the entire game, and I would be happy for a game to be only that. That was super cool. They're all communicating. It's like, okay, I got it on camera too. We got dude at the merch store. Okay, I think he's clean. We've got him covered for all 3 minutes and stuff. And it was so fascinating. Then we came in, we started helping out with that part. Then they dealt us in for the next and kind of final chapter where it was very different from that, where there weren't cameras, but we were in different locations at different people's houses and seeing different like notes and things. Super interesting.
And you have questions you're trying to answer. And it was fascinating. Honestly, I want them all to do that camera one. I thought that was so much cooler than the second one that we did.
Well, I thought it was a cool theme for a game of like, we're all doing stuff. It was like, I'm seeing this view, you're seeing that view. Like, what do you see? How do we cross? I think there could be an entire game on that idea.
Yeah, totally. And so it was cool. So again, like there's like 3 different parts of each like case that you're trying to solve. You solve one, go to the next one, go to the next one, you solve it. And then there's always like at the very end, some kind of like you're trying to put the whole thing together.
Yeah, you basically.
And there's like 5 cases in the box. And like, the art was cool and stuff like that. And it was fascinating. We were at first like, what are you all doing? Because they're like, they're here at this time at this camp. We're like, what are you doing? And
I see one's carrying an envelope. Hey, anyone got that envelope? Can we trace that envelope back and stuff?
Yeah, it was fascinating.
Super
cool.
It
was kind of like, it was like the epitome of like the Charlie Day with like all the pins on the maps. It's kind of like that.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, you start to put together the larger picture.
It was fascinating.
It was super cool. Really cool. Interesting game. Yeah. Really interesting game. You could play like over an evening, do like one whole story.
Yeah, totally.
Man, that was just really neat.
Very
I was
cool.
really blown away just by the concept of that.
Yeah.
So cool.
Mike got to play Project Elite.
We did. It's a real-time game where you're fighting off aliens and you are trying not to die.
We succeeded. I think.
Yeah, we died and then sort of said, well, what if that didn't happen? And then we won. So
that's right. I forgot.
Because we could have done something different and I didn't realize. I made like a rules error, which it's all simultaneous play because you're all doing real-time stuff. So I did something like where I'm like, oh, I didn't need to do that. And that directly caused us to lose. So let's just undo that one thing and then go ahead. And like, so it's an asterisk win, but who cares? It's a co-op game.
We won.
There was no judges around. And yeah, so it's a
Except
real-time game.
Mother.
A real-time game. She called me afterward. Where you are rolling dice. And on these dice, you might be able to like equip and fire a weapon, move. There's alien faces that get rolled, which cause like this horde of aliens. There's a ton of them every round to move forward. They're all trying to get to the exit and stuff. It's just a run and gun. Like it really kind of feels like a video game where you're like running around and you're shooting and blasting these things. There's like boss aliens that come out, but it's all like over this same, I don't know, 1, 2 minute thing. You're running like, okay, someone over there, someone grab that thing over there, and there's an alien. Can you move that alien over here? And I'm going to walk up and shoot this thing. And it's just like chaos and stuff. It is really fun.
It was interesting.
It gets broken up into kind of an event phase after that. Then you reset and do it again. But it was just a messy, good time.
Yeah, a messy good time. That's a good way of putting it. It's a mess, but it's a good mess.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was just a fun game. We were playing late at night, so you get a little high energy silliness and stuff.
It was good.
I enjoyed my time.
Me
with
too.
That very much.
It was good. We unfortunately didn't play this version. We played the Artimpia Games version,
which is real ugly.
Which is the minis are big old blobs, basically.
They're big blobs of mush that have a general shape, and it's important. Like get a chomper. I'm like,
which one is that?
Which one is that? How
the Simon version has much nicer minis. But nonetheless, the game itself it's really fun. I liked it. I don't know how often. I definitely don't need this game.
No. But a great con game.
A great con game, exactly.
Because then you can get the group together and like we had a
real
blast
silly fun.
Yeah,
it was a good time. And I've been wanting to play it for years, so it was nice to finally get that played. That was very, very cool. I played Ring of Chaos. I played this at Paula's. This is the game that we streamed.
Okay, I was just like, what?
I had like forgotten I played this. I went over to our good friend Paula Demling's house and we streamed this game for Beetle and Grimm, who are like it's Matthew Lillard's company.
Like the RPG stuff, right?
They make like, I think like cool stuff for RPGs, like cool boards. They made a game. This game is also very fine. It is fine. It's kind of like a D&D themed-ish game where you're like, it's a competitive game where there's like a ring in the middle and you're basically trying to get the ring and trying to like hold on to the ring is the main thing. And you have a faction. Your faction's going to have some kind of like ability, and all the abilities were like kind of broken, which was kind of nice because everyone had a really cool ability.
Nice.
But you have essentially 4 characters. You have like a paladin, you have like a cleric, a fighter, and then a wizard, I think, like that. And they all have a different color. So your paladin's like purple and your fighter is red, that kind of thing. And you're playing out these cards, and these cards are going to move you around, allow you to attack other people, do all these things. But the cards have a color. So if I'm playing a blue card, that's like your wizard or whatever it was. You can play that, but you have to have your wizard, because when someone knocks you out, basically every time you get hit, you have to take one of your people and turn them face down. And they're wounded. If they take another hit, they're gone. Which means you can no longer play that color of card. What? So it's one of those things where, like, it's kind of a gang up game, because, like, I got like too many people knocked out really quickly, so people were just like, oh, this person hasn't lost anybody. No one's even wounded. We need to go gang up on them, kind of thing. And there's kind of like alliances going on and stuff like that. I got knocked out really quick and was kind of just sitting there, because if you get all 4 knocked out, you're just gone.
Oh, player elimination.
Yeah, you can't really come back.
Classic mechanism.
There are ways where you can, like, if you lose someone, you might be able to bring them back with certain cards.
But if you're all out, you're all out.
But you're all out, you're all out. So it was fine. It was fine.
Was it 30 minutes or less?
No.
Oh.
It was fine. I thought it was good. It was fine.
Right.
I would play it again, but it was fine. I thought the interesting, but it's also one of the things, as you're losing characters, you actually get less powerful, because then you have a bunch of cards you just can't play. And I kind of wish it was the other way around.
Yeah, there should be like a bottom ability, so like you get beefed up on your other
so it's like,
people.
now you're getting more determined to win because your friends got.
That would be a game
more interesting.
changer.
Yeah, because then it's like, you kind of eliminate someone to the point where they're on the brink, but now they're super strong.
Maybe it's like it becomes a boost card, but it's wild. You can attach it to anyone else's attack, and it boosts up what you do. That would be cool, because you get the thing. It was like, I'm weaker now.
Yeah, but then also people aren't targeting you as much, so it was fine.
Right on. Luke, we did cover Apiary. I liked it more than Nick. We both liked it a lot.
Yeah, exactly. This is one of those games where the game was the company was great. This was very much one of those games. Mike, we got and played Sail. We picked this up at BGG Con. This is a 2-player trick-taking game.
It is from
co-op,
play,
which I'm always fascinated by.
Yes. 2-player trick-taking in general is just always, I will always buy it.
Yes.
I like trick-taking.
Yes.
I think 2-player trick-taking is fascinating, because it seems to just go against, like, that's not possible.
Yeah.
And they make it possible a lot of times.
They do.
Sail is really cool, where you are sailing your ship through troubled waters, and there's a kraken and stuff trying to attack you and slap your ship and whatnot. And you are trying to navigate these waters, fight back against the kraken, do stuff via trick-taking. So the cards that you play will have symbols on them. And when you play your cards, depending on what kind of symbols you collectively put out there, you may or may not trigger an ability. And it might be like if you have these things, your ship is going to move forward. It's going to move kind of forward and diagonally in the direction of whoever won the trick. So if we need to go kind of Nick's direction, I need to make sure Nick wins the trick, and we play the thing to move and stuff like that. There's like mermaids, which allow you to move like directly forward. Essentially, it's jumping spaces, because it's all kind of these diamonds. So you're kind of going like this and stuff. You're going around islands, trying to avoid that kraken, avoid taking damage. Because as you take damage, you basically get these like lower value cards into your deck, which are just like not as useful for you to use. It's super fun. I love the look of it. It's got Weapons in Santiago art. You can play with kind of these pirates, which give you like abilities and things like that. I really
played like the very intro one,
which is a very short map. It's very easy to do,
and we like crushed. So I'm really excited to play this game.
Yeah, because there's some long ones where it's like you'd have to go through several boards worth. I'm like, how would you ever do that?
Hard.
And you have to, like, there's these storms, so you have to get to like a certain amount of progress by the end of round 2, or else you lose. So it makes you play aggressively, like you have to be going for it. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's cool.
A lot.
Yeah,
Very,
it's
cool.
really good. Really, really good.
Yeah.
We got to play Septima.
We did.
We'll actually be covering this game soon. Because we wanted to play it before. We wanted to play it for a while anyway.
Oh yeah, ever since I heard about it. I love the look of it so much.
We'll be covering this one soon for Mind Clash Games, and so we got to play it. I will say the game was good. We played like the basic mode, and I would not suggest playing the basic mode.
I wouldn't.
I would go straight to like whatever the advanced mode is.
Yeah.
Because the basic mode takes out a bunch of stuff that to me, like I didn't dislike the game. I liked it.
It was just kind of like straightforward. I didn't feel like
basic.
I had enough to think about.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of a word of the day. And I sound like highfalutin heavy board gamers now.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things that like there are elements they leave out.
Yeah.
And they're significant. Like there's this whole ritual track and spell cards and stuff, and you're doing like witch stuff. And like the thing I love about this very much is it's very much in a kind of retaking the narrative like witches. Like these are healers. These are people.
Yeah.
These are frankly women back in the day who were healers trying to provide care for people and were ostracized as witches. And things like that. And so it's kind of taking that and saying like, yeah, they are witches. They have magical properties, but they're not evil in any way. You're out there collecting resources and stuff like that, and that's really cool, but the ritual track and the spells and stuff are things that I feel like would give you really interesting choices in the game. And they say, and probably smart, for the first time you play is like just do the stuff where you're sort of collecting resources and trying to heal people. Let's focus on that.
It's probably a good way to learn the game.
It's probably good to learn the game. This is from Mind Clash, who makes like Anachrony and stuff, but this is a much lighter game in general. And the basic one, I felt kind of like, I feel like I'm not playing the game, you know? And so like that was, I'm like, I want more, and I know there is more. There's large sections that I'm reading the rules that you just skip over. And I'm like, well, that seems like pretty juicy. I want that.
It's that kind of constant debate, like, are these like basic versions of games a lot of rule books have, where it's like, play this one first. Is that better or worse to do? And there's a whole debate about that. And it's an interesting concept, because in this one, I actually think it hurt the game. Because we both left the game being like, that was good. I liked it.
But it just felt like it didn't have its teeth.
No, exactly. And so I'm really excited to play the full version. When we cover it, we'll be playing the full version.
Cover the full version.
And I'm really excited because I liked the game. I liked what we were doing. But if that was the whole thing, I would be like, okay, once I played it once or twice, I'd be done. But I love the theme. It's got a great look to it. It seems cool, and I'm really excited to try like the full game. So honestly, if you're learning this game, I would probably just go straight to the full thing.
For anyone who doesn't know what you're doing in the game, you're playing these action cards that allow you to move around the board, collect resources, you're foraging and stuff. Turn those resources into potions, which might give you like one-time abilities or the ability to heal folks. You're trying to heal people. But as you do stuff, you might raise suspicion. And so there's witches that go on trial. So you're also trying to send people out into the town square to basically like get the crowd on your side and say like, this person is not evil. So I love all the things you're doing. And you can kind of get bonuses for matching actions with other people. But again, it raises your suspicion because now these people are gathering in the woods and people are like, what's going on?
Those witches,
excited to play the full game. That's where
really
I'm at with it right now. I'm like, I want to know what the full game is so I really know what the game is, because I feel like we haven't played it yet.
Praise be.
Praise be to Phil!
Praise be to Phil Walker Harding. We played Silver and Gold Pyramid. So our very, very, very good friends, Paula and Matthew, told us about this game. We love Silver and Gold, which is the original game. And they basically said, once you play Silver and Gold Pyramids, you'll never play Silver and Gold again.
Well, let's slow our roll.
We're like, whoa, I love
that.
Silver and Gold. They're like, so do we. You'll never go back. And I'll tell you right now, once we get this version, we will never, ever go back.
The version's gone.
Silver Gold is a game where you are going to flip over essentially a Tetris shape on a card, and then you have these dry erase cards, and you're going to be marking it. You're essentially exploring, right? And the other one, you're trying to find treasure or whatever. The theme, this theme actually makes more sense, which is nice. Still pretty themeless, but at least makes more sense the other one.
Well, there's things that reinforce the theme.
So you basically have to cross off that Tetris shape on this card. You're just basically, in the original game, trying to fill in the entire card. In this one, you have an entrance, because you're essentially going into like pyramids, looking for treasure, all this kind of stuff, you know. And you have an entrance.
Classic, just grave robbing.
Pretty much, yeah.
But you get renowned for it.
Yeah, you know, that's what people did back then too.
100%. Yeah, the British would, they would just go and eat them.
Yeah,
which is like awful.
People ate mummies. Look it up. It's wild. So basically, you have an entrance on the card, and then you have essentially a spot that you're trying to get to. And so instead of having to fill in the entire card, you're basically just trying to get to that thing. But there's other stuff on the card, maybe stuff you want to avoid, like these skulls, or there's like these gems that are out of the way. So maybe you're like, oh, I'm going to go around here, get these gems, and go down. It just was way more interesting. And I love Silver and Gold. And this was way more interesting.
I just love the idea of like, I can just try to rush through as many cards as possible, because that's points. Or I can take a slightly longer route and get these gems and things which are like worth points. And like, how do I balance that out? And there's also like 3 colors essentially of cards, and you can get like boons for getting the first one to get those colors. So there's just a few more things to think about while being almost identical on a mechanical level. But it's just like, do I go as quick as I can, or do I try to fill out that board? And now I have a choice, and you can be rewarded for either direction. That is a brilliant change. It's so simple. I like that there's like skulls now. There's things that can hurt you on the board that was not present in silver and gold. So that's really cool. It's just everything that silver and gold was, while not making it more complex, but making it vastly more interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, very. I don't
Can't
think
wait for it to come out.
Yeah, I don't think it's in the States yet.
No.
But hopefully it comes over soon. We played at BGG-Con, they had a copy.
Pandasaurus
Brought
carried
over-
silver and gold, and I hope and imagine they will pick this one up as well.
That's the hope, right? We played Sixto, Mikey.
Six-Two. This is a game that our buddy
Sixto,
Dan brought back from Essence. So it's just a tiny little roll and write where you are rolling these 6-color dice.
Classic.
And you have 6 tracks that pertain to each of those colors.
Classic.
And whatever number comes out, you can basically jump forward on that track to X off that number. So if it's a red 3, I can look down the red track, wherever the next 3 is, I can cross that off. But if I jump forward, you can never go backward.
Yep.
So you are trying to say, like, is it worth going 3 spaces forward? Because at the end of the game, you're going to look at how many things on this track did I bump off. 6 of them. You look at the chart at the bottom, you get blah, blah, blah points. The more that you cross off, the more exponentially kind of better it becomes for you. So you want to go, ideally, 1 space to the next space to the next space to the next space. But if you keep rolling something that red can't use, you're like, well, am I leaving points on the table here? So you're making that decision of like, how far forward do I jump, knowing I can't go backward, and kind of how do I maximize these rows? And then the same thing happens for each of the columns. If you X off something in one of the columns, you now have basically invested in that column. And if you only have like that one, and on all your other colored tracks, you never manage to X off that particular spot, you might lose points. So you're trying to also make sure that you make sure your columns are working out and your rows. And the fact that you have that column thing makes it just enough to think about that it makes it really delicious. While being completely themeless, simple.
Yeah, the theme is
straightforward.
Colored dice. That's it. Yeah, I love these kinds of roll and writes where just like roll dice, fill in spots, whatever. They're great. They're never gonna be the greatest game ever, but you can bring them out with anyone. You can teach it to anyone. It comes in a little box like this. It's
super
great.
simple.
I love
portable.
games like this. They're just always fun. They're always solid. And yeah, this one's great.
Love it. It's really enjoy it. Hopefully it comes out here someday.
Praise
be to fail.
Also, shout out to Charlie, our good friend Charlie Brown.
This was
Taught
awesome.
us this one.
Taught us this one. He had just picked up the game and was generous enough to teach it to us.
Yes.
This is a Phil Walker Harding game where you are learning spells and drawing and making use of these like tokens, use your resources to do various things. And what's really cool is like there are all sorts of versions of like the different color of spells and stuff, and everyone's gonna have the same set per game, but you can change it up from game to game, which might change the flavor of the game you're going for. And you can go through kind of stages of your thing. You're going through like morning, day, and night, your night phase and stuff.
Yeah.
And each one you're gonna be presented with an option. You can do like a basic action, or you can do one of the spells if you learn that spell that pertains to the morning phase. Then you go into the midday phase where you can do either a basic action or one of your midday spells if you've learned them. Same thing for the night. And as you go, it's just kind of resource management stuff where you might be able to draw more tokens from this kind of market or the bag. So you're doing blind draws. You might be able to exchange stuff from the market. You're trying to get the right resources to then ultimately learn your different spells, because once you've learned all 7 of your spells, the game is over. And basically, depending on the level of the spell, each spell has like 3 levels. You get points and stuff. So you want to learn the highest level of the spell because A, the action is going to be better for you, and it's worth more points, but it might be harder to collect the right resources to do that. If I have to get like 5 reds, you're like, ugh, that's really tough. Or I can get a lesser version of the spell, but it only takes 3, and I can start using that action. So you're really trying to kind of mix that and stuff. So it's just kind of resource management-y stuff. I really enjoyed that kind of aspect and the like little ramp up while being fairly kind of like just simple to get through.
Right.
I'd like to try more of the spells and stuff, because we played with like these are your first game spells, and they're pretty basic.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Great. Yeah.
But I'm like curious because like Charlie was explaining some of the ones they played with that were way wild.
Yeah, because the way they work with each other and stuff is completely different depending on what spells you have. And so like, having different spells or just mixing and matching them will completely change the game.
Yeah, which I think would be really cool for like future games. I'm like, you could have this combination of spells, and again, everyone has the same combo. It's like, how do I make this work together? I think would be really fun. But it's just ultimately kind of resource exchange stuff. and I enjoyed it. So it's one I want to try again with some of those other spells to see like how does it change the flavor of that game. So very cool stuff.
Very, very cool stuff.
Yeah, cool
so
pieces.
From the Isle of Man. What's with your flag?
Why?
Why the legs?
Explain it.
Have you seen the Isle of Man flag?
I think so.
It's like three legs in like this. Like, it looks like this, but with 3 legs. I don't get it. But
those are trophies of the dead that we collected.
Played Sunrise Lane. We also just got this game from Flat River Group, but we played this game at BGG-Con before we got it.
We haven't played
with
our
our friend David, who we met at BGG-Con a couple different times. Yeah. This is a simple Reiner Knizia game where you are essentially trying to kind of like area control different parts of, I guess, Sunrise Lane, this kind of area. I can't remember, how do you put your pieces out?
You turn in cards. You can either draw cards
that's what it is.
or play cards.
Indeed. And so you're playing like 3 blues, and then you can essentially put different pieces out. Okay, I'm totally blanking on the game.
As you have a hand of cards,
I'm like, good.
There's different spaces on the central board that have different colors and things. So when you go to play a card, you can play onto a foundation of the matching color. And you get points and stuff. Now, what you can do is if you have like 3 blues, you can put 3 blues down to build a 3-story building.
Yes.
Which is going to be a multiplier because the foundation will have, I think, between 1 and 5 pips, which will be the points that it's worth. But if you put down a 3-story building on a 5-pip spot, you're going to get 15 points because it's going to be a multiplier. As you go out. So you kind of want to, but you can turn in as many cards as you want to go out to different things. You can always put a level 1 building, which is fine.
Which you will do most of the time.
And sometimes you might put like, I'm going to play 1 red, put 1 building here. It's worth 2 points. But the next space that I now have access to, because you have to build adjacent to something that's been built before.
Because that's what you're trying to do.
That's worth more points. I want to put my 2-story building there.
Yeah, because the spots all have like pip values essentially on them. So yeah, if you put 1 on a 4 spot, it's 1. But if you put 3 down on a 4 spot, that's 12. Yeah. So much of it is just like trying to get to a spot and also not trying to. That's why I couldn't remember. I was like, wait, you have to put down 1 and then build on top of that, but you can also put down multiple, put down a higher building. Yeah. So you also don't want to set up your opponents, but I don't want to leave Mike this really juicy like pink spot over here. So I need to. Sometimes I'm going to put a 1 down here just to take that really good spot. Yeah. It was really, really fun. Super, super simple with Reiner Knizia stuff, where it's again like draw cards, play cards, put out these buildings, try and build them higher if you want to. That's the whole game, and it's really, really good. Yeah, and then the 2 halves of the board, there's put in a quadrant. So 2 quadrants are like whatever the tallest building is in that area will get these bonus points. And the 2 other quadrants, whoever has the most houses out there. So there you don't really care about building super tall buildings. You just want to get a bunch of them out there. Really simple. It's either draw cards or play cards on your turn. That's it. Fast turns. Again, another very simple Reiner Knizia game, but it's got horrible guild. So they have just always really high quality. Really beautiful art. Beautiful art. The pieces of your little houses, the buildings stack really well and are really kind of pretty and ornate and stuff. It's a dope game. Yeah, I like this game a lot. Really liked it. This definitely fits the simple in a great way kind of game you can kind of play with anybody. Really like this game. Real talk though. Goes by quick. Mikey, we played Surfasaurus Max. This is on our anticipated Essen list. I'm not going to lie, kind of as a joke because this cover was hilarious, but this game is actually so great. It's so fun. We actually got a chance to play it, which I never expected. Yeah, and I will tell you right now, it's not what you think it's going to be, because here's the thing. Surfing and dinosaurs, what does that theme mashup make you think of? Does it make you think of semi-co-op poker? Because that's what the game is. Because when I think of surfing and dinosaurs, I think of semi-co-op poker. Well, because you got to be playing some semi-co-op poker and a long night on a bender, frankly, for you to even see something like this right here. And that's exactly what you get. Really, really good. This is a game so unique. Yeah, it's basically what it is on your turn. You have a hand of cards, and your cards are going to be different colors, which are dinosaurs, and different values. And you're essentially trying to make a really good poker hand, but you want to be part of the poker hand. So on your turn, I'll play cards. I put like a 3 down. I'm like, okay, I put down a 3 yellow. Mike, then, if he puts down a 3 green, we now have a pair of 3s. Okay, cool. Someone else puts down a third 3. We now have a triplet of 3s. And you're going to go around, everyone's going to play a card, and you're basically trying to make the best poker hand. So you can make like a straight, you can make a flush, you can make a straight flush. That's the best one. 3 of a kind, I think full house, whatever. And
It'll always be a 5-card poker hand.
A 5-card poker hand. And then at the end of the game, at the end of that round, you'll basically see what's the best poker hand out there. And then if you contributed to that poker hand, you are going to get coconuts.
You're gonna put that card or cards potentially under either your full coconut or half coconut.
Half coconut.
Because there's things that can basically blow it where it's like, okay, now you only get half coconuts. I can't remember the specifics about like what makes things turn into half coconuts. Full coconuts are better, obviously.
But it can be like where like you have a straight going, but the straight's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then someone plays a 6, and now the best straight is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So if I play the 1s, like you're out.
You're out of that
You're
round.
out.
You need to be part of the best poker hand. So this is kind of like joint theme, like, oh man, I'm gonna blow up this straight by playing this. Yep. Now there's a flush, and that flush is better than the straight or something like that. And it was so much fun. It was incredible. I loved this game. It was
so fun. We played, I think, with like 6 players.
Yeah.
We play with Our Family Plays Games
Great
and stuff.
company.
And so you get this whole thing of like,
with Charlie Brown again,
come on the flush train with us, come on now.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't have that card or whatever. I didn't get any points. I did horrible.
Yeah.
But it's so fun to be like, I'm part of the flush or part of the straight or whatever. And they're like, this now this is a straight thing. And you're like, I'm not part of that. And you're like, get wrecked, nerd. Like, you should have gotten good.
We talked about this way earlier with Apiary. Again, if you have a game, a semi-co-op poker game, you're like, that has no theme. Let's put something weird on it, because at the very least, people will go, what is that game? Yeah. We would have bought this game based off of this cover. Straight up, we would have...
It made our anticipated Essen list.
Given people money.
Unironically, kind of, because of this cover.
Yeah. And it turned out to be a great game. So here's, again, if your game is themeless, put something on that's going to catch people's eye. This game was legitimately... It's one of my favorite games of the year. It's so much fun. It's really, really fun, and it's got such a weird theme.
Yes. It was awesome. It was legitimately so great.
Yeah, great time.
So fascinating to wrap your brain around.
Yeah.
It's just like legitimately like, how do I get in on this?
How do I get in? I can't do on this.
Do I play it 4 and be like, come on, guys, who's going with me?
Let's do it. We played Tiger and Dragon.
We did.
This is a 2-player game from Oink Games, who I think brought it over here. And this is a
much larger.
Yeah, it's like this big. It's got this big, chunky kind of like mahjong-ish tiles. Fascinating game of back and forth.
It's really interesting. When I first was reading, I was like, I know Jeff and Jamie from Foster the Meeple like it, and so I was just like, well, they have no taste. So
they have no taste at all. They're not even in chat today.
Yeah, I know. Just someday they're gonna watch this years later and be like, why? I love you guys. They were interested, so that got me interested. So I was like, I'm gonna read this because they really like it. I want to know why.
It's this back and forth attack and defense.
It's a game where you're in a fight.
Yeah,
you're having a martial arts fight.
Yeah.
And you are playing a tile one at a time if you're the active player. And if you're playing the active player, you're playing a tile as an attack.
Yeah, like I'm playing a 3.
I'm playing a 3. Now, Nick can defend himself. If he has a tile that has a 3, he can play that as a defense. And then if you successfully defend, what happens is you immediately go and take a turn as an attack.
Yeah.
And you're trying to get rid of your tiles first.
Yes.
So it's nice if you can successfully defend and then attack again, because that's a little two for one. Now, the cool thing is the tiles are numbered 1 through 8.
Yes.
And if the number represents how many copies of that tile there
there's
are.
1 1, 2 2s, 3 3s.
So if you play an 8, it's not a great attack because probably they can defend that.
Yeah.
They probably have an 8 in their hand. But there's a little bit of card counting and stuff.
If I have both 2s, I know Mike's doesn't have a 2.
So it's like, well, I'm going to save those for my attacks then, and I'm going to maybe save them for later because I know Nick can't defend them. If I play a tile and Nick can't defend himself, I get to take another one of my tiles and put it face down as a defense and then attack again.
Yes.
So you can essentially run the table, and what I discard there could be something that I'm like, well, I have 2 3s, you've played 1, I'm going to put this one face down. I now know that there's only 1 left, and I can save that. So there's a little bit of that kind of card counting. You can also strategically pass. Like maybe I have a tile to defend myself, but again, similarly, I know it's like that's 1-3. I have the other 2. If I pass right now and don't defend with this, I know I have 2 tiles I can play later as an attack.
Yeah,
so you can say like pass and then go, and so it's one that like I didn't anticipate the amount of strategy at the start as it emerged. And I was like, oh, you can be kind of tricky with this. Like there was one game where I got out and I had 1 tile left.
Yeah, that was it.
And then Nick was just like, I can defend that. And then I had 1 tile left, and Nick knew full well that it was an 8.
Yeah.
And so he was just like,
ran the table.
Hey, 7, can you defend that? No. Okay, what'd he do? Discarded an 8. 7, 6, he did all these things, and then he went and ran the table and won. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, Mike immediately got to 1 tile left, and I was able to win the game.
I made a mistake.
And then on top of that, you're in different like arenas, essentially, where you're fighting. So depending on
whatever tile you basically end with.
on, that'll matter. So this like arena will be like, you want to end on a 7 or 8, you get a certain amount of points. You're essentially trying to get 10 points.
Yeah.
Or this one, if you end on like a 5, you get this amount of points. If you end up on a 4 or 6, you get less
like
points.
Different focuses, essentially.
Yeah, so which is kind of cool. So you're like, oh, I'm actively trying to do this. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was really fun.
Really neat. You can play like 3 or 4 players. I feel like it's best
I like the 2.
as like a 2-player, like straight up game. But I'd like to try the other styles and see how it is.
I'm curious.
Because the tiles are more distributed and stuff, and you kind of try to go all the way around and back to you. But if you do that in a higher player count game, you do get a better benefit because it's harder to do.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
Yeah.
You got to play Too Many Bones Unbreakable.
I did. I quite enjoyed this. We covered this for Chip Theory Games, and
played it once before that.
It's been years since we'd played Too Many Bones, and I didn't, I guess, understand like strategically how you should build up your character, because it's all about playing a character, unlocking things for that character, building up their stats as they can become more experienced and things like that. And there's, of course, this like menu of dice you can unlock that are really juicy and interesting to use, but they're once per encounter dice. See, once you roll them, they're done until you do the next encounter. And I just like remember being really frustrated by that. And I also, because I spent all my energy getting those dice, I didn't boost up my stats, like my health, my dexterity, my attack and stuff. And those are vitally important. Those bread and butter kind of boring stats are what allow you to do everything, especially dexterity, because it tells you how many dice you can roll, but I can only roll so many attack dice. And so it's like, you have those special dice, but you're always gonna be rolling your attack dice. So now I went in and understood the importance of boosting those stats.
Yeah.
And once I understood that, understood like how it benefits me and how it's actually very useful, then I started enjoying that, because in the first time I played, it's like, what do I want to do that's boring? I want to do this stuff. And I made a terribly built character. Now that I understand the strategy of kind of how you build a character, or at least how I built Gale, I know at least how to build
that character.
One specific
they're
character.
all
They're all
very different. Yeah.
Then it was very cool, and I enjoyed myself a lot.
Yeah, I really like it. I mean,
really fun. I can understand how people get super into it. Yeah, it can be
very swingy because you're rolling dice, but like, I really do enjoy it quite a bit.
Really fun.
Quite a bit. All right, we're getting to the end of the new stuff here, and then we'll fly through the old stuff because we've been going for quite a while already.
My rapidest reviews of all time.
Finally got to play Velomino or Velonimo. I played this at Gen Con with Shay, Bobé, and Paula.
Yes.
And I've been wanting to play it with you because I figured you would like it. We got to play this again with that same group we were playing with, like our family plays games, Eric from BGG.
Yep.
And what'd you think of it?
I loved it so much.
So much you went and bought it.
Yes, it was on super
and so did
sale.
Starla bought it.
I don't know if 25th Century is still doing their sale. They had a sale. It was like $4 down from $20. I'm like, are we liquidating? Are you
going out of business?
Are you going out of business? Like, what's going on? It was so cheap. So I was like, I'm buying that.
Yeah.
This is a really interesting, fun card game.
It's so good.
Where you are, again, you're trying to go out. You're trying to get rid of all your cards.
Yep.
And the way that you establish the value of cards, it's like a card shedding game, kind of like Scout, where you need to play something stronger than what's been previously played on the table.
Yep.
So if the number is 20 or 21, we'll say, I need to play something higher. Now, the cards themselves don't go up. There are certain special cards that do go to like 45 and 50, but for the most part, they're like 1 through 9 or something like that, or 7 or something. And how you play cards is you can essentially play either all the same color, and so that can be a mix of numbers, or a set of the same number. And so if I play like 3 2s, the amount of cards you play will dictate the 10 value.
Yes.
So if I play 3 cards, I'm going to have 30 of something. then the value of the lowest card that you played, so either in a run or rather in the same color or in a set of cards, will determine like the 1 value. So if I have 3 2s, I just played 32. I have 3 cards. The value on it, the lowest value showing was a 2, 3, and 2, 32.
Yeah, whereas Mike played 3 blues that were 5, 6, 7, it'd be 35.
Because
it's
5
3
is the
cards,
lowest number.
5's the lowest.
So you're trying to, like, if you get a bunch of 5s, I can play like 5 of them out, it'd be like 55 or something.
It's
So,
really
like,
hard to beat.
That whole thing is just really fascinating of like how you determine the values and how do you play a higher level thing. Plus you're getting rid of a bunch of cards, but you don't want to leave yourself so that you can't.
It's like Scout. You don't want to leave yourself with like 1, 2.
Yeah, but every one, the value 1 cards allow you to basically steal a card from an opponent or trade. You have to give them a card back. But you can kind of like hopefully mitigate your hand a little bit that way. It's just really fun. It's just like hilarious, like animal bike race thing.
Yeah.
I
There's also
really
these
enjoyed
single
that.
cards that are like 30, 35, 40, 45, and 50. They're just
Yeah.
one card. So
They're special. You never pair them with anything.
you never pay anything, so you can just drop it down 35, boom, and you just win. Unless someone has a higher
You don't
card.
know if you'll
that-
win, yeah.
So, and you know those cards are out there.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh.
When's someone going to drop
is
it?
someone, and if you do have one of those cards, you're like, when do I drop this 40?
Yep.
Especially if you're like a 30 or 35, you're like, that's not the highest hand. So you're like, when do you do it? It's so good.
So fun.
It's so good.
Really
and then
like it a
basically,
lot.
if you play 5 rounds, the first round, if you win, you get like 1 point or 5 points.
Yes.
But if you win the 5th round, you get like 25 points.
Yeah, every round is like the multiplier for the
Yeah,
scores.
exactly. So it's like that's really, really fascinating. This game is super good. Really,
Yeah.
really good. I'm super glad we're about to get it.
So awesome.
Mikey, we got to play Viral again, baby.
We did. We Arcane Wonders also sent us a copy because we
Talked
they
about how we
knew
wanted to
full
get
well
it
that we
back.
put this on our regret that we got rid of list. And
Yeah.
so they sent us a copy of the expansion, so thank you for that.
And
But
it's
while we're
still
at
great.
BGG we literally had been talking to this couple before.
Yeah.
And we were just sitting playing games and they were setting up Viral.
Yeah.
And so we just said like, are you about to play this? Because our game's going to finish up soon and we would be happy to hop in and play this
Yeah.
because it's been a long time. And they obliged us and we got to play Viral for the first time in a long time, 4-player game. It's still awesome.
I really
it's such
like
a
it.
fun, cool, weird area control
And
game.
it feels so different than any area control game. This is a game where you are viruses in a body and you are trying to multiply.
Admittedly, a more fun theme 4
5
years
years
ago,
ago, right? Yeah.
but still fun.
But unless, and you are you're moving around the different organs of the body,
What's up,
trying
Vicky?
to get, hi Vicky, trying to get area control in there. You can like take out other viruses, you can multiply those viruses,
Yep.
you can move around, but you're moving around in the blood system, so you can't like go from, I'm gonna go from the butt, the large intestine, straight to the brain. That's not how that works. You have to
gotta
like
follow
go
the
back
highway, the super
into the
highway.
heart to get oxygenated
Get to the brain.
again.
Sure.
Sure.
Who's to say?
Whatever. I really, really like this game. We also got the Hive expansion with a little expansion for it. I'm excited to try that.
too, I wanna see
I'm
about it.
really glad to have this back in our collection because I freaking love it. We got rid of it because no one wants to play it with us, but I don't care. I'm going to play it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a really fun game. We really like it. Super,
Yeah.
super happy to have it back.
It's so good. I love Viral.
Been a long time.
We played World Wonders, also my
We did.
Arcane Wonders.
We did. David showed us Sunrise Lane,
Yep.
also showed us World Wonders at BGG. This is a tile laying game where you are building out different buildings and stuff that all have to be connected to roadways. You have to build these like little roads and stuff to have things to connect to. And then oftentimes, depending on what types of buildings you have next to each other, you can qualify to place one of these World Wonders, which are just going to help you cover more of your board, essentially.
Yeah.
They're not
They don't actually do
that
much.
They're worth a point, I suppose. So
Yeah.
they're not nothing, but they're not like they're
are
not as
not-
central to the game as you would think.
They are. That's my only. I really liked this game. My knock against this game is that the World Wonders aren't the point of
They're
the game.
just other pieces you can place.
And they're like, yeah, and they're just like 1 point. They are nowhere near your biggest point get in the game. So like, I get it. They're big, beautiful pieces. They're really, really cool. But to me, it's so weird that that's like not the point of the game.
Yeah.
Like you can win this game by not getting any wonders.
In theory, you could. I think it might be tough, but you could
If you surround
absolutely-
everything,
Yeah. So
like-
as you build these buildings, they're basically going to give you production, and you're going to bump up these
Yeah.
resource tracks, including your population, which will be your main hit of points.
Yeah.
But the World Wonders help you gain points, and so I really like this on a pure
Me
tile
too.
laying
Yeah.
game standard. I know there's an expansion coming, so I'm really excited to see what that brings.
Yeah.
But it is weird that the World Wonders are not as central to the
Yeah.
game as you would think. They
Yeah.
are super cool pieces though,
Yes.
and fun to play with, but they're just sort of another piece to play.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, yeah, and they have like you have to place them in certain spots. That's interesting.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a race to get them because if I get the pyramids, Mike obviously can't get the pyramids.
There's only one cheat
But
sheet,
for the most part, they're like one. I think there's maybe a couple that are 2 points if they're really big, but like that's it. And it's like to me, it's weird.
Yeah, it's weird
that they're not a bigger part of the game. Like it's just I really liked the game, but it's just odd
Great
to
production
me.
value and stuff.
Yeah, it's just kind of interesting, but it's good.
Yeah,
it's just
well, we're playing
interesting.
just when David was explaining the game to us, he let us know that.
Yes,
and I'm glad because it set my expectations of like, don't do only this and not focus on these other things because you will lose.
Yeah,
and that was important to know because I would have only gone for wonders and then been like, why
it seems like
5 points?
That's what you should be doing, right?
Yeah.
So just know that it's really good, but yeah, it's just an interesting thing.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, that's all the new stuff. 37 new games. We're gonna quickly go through the old stuff because we've been going for like
listen.
almost
Okay,
2
it's
hours.
rapid-ish reviews.
At this point, it's not even rapid.
We just have so much fun talking.
I know.
We gotta just
and we'll be doing a Q&A after this. So yeah, Mike, you played the new Castles of Burgundy again.
love it. So great. Such
Still
a classic
so good.
game. I love the new version. It's so pretty.
We played Coloma with our good friends Benita and Brandon Ajar. They wanted to
It's new
play
for them.
Yeah, it was new to them. And they wanted to play because we put it on our underrated list. And you know what? This game is a banger. It's like
It's really
you're in
great.
the Old West. There's a whole bunch of different like avenues you can go for scoring. Like
I
Benita
did
went like a
horribly.
super interesting like got all the cards out of her deck and was just like hitting points. Because every time you draw a card, but you have no cards, like you just get a point.
Yeah.
And she was just doing that, and she ended
There's
up
not a
winning
ton
the
of
game.
in-game points, and like that's
No.
a good way to do that. Yeah, it
was
fun.
wild.
We played 4-player, which is like ideal for this.
Yes.
I think it can play up to 5. You want a
It
lot
was
of people,
6,
so
I
that's
think.
harder to find. But I think 4 was really a sweet
Yes.
spot where it's like at 6-player, it's gonna be really hard to end
Yes.
up alone. It's
Yeah.
gonna be really almost impossible. And a 4-player, you can do it, but you got to be clever.
Yeah, it's really good though. I like this one a lot.
Yeah.
We played Dorfman Antique. We played this like John DeClaire, Dino, and Grant.
And Grant Line, Grant's game recommendations.
Talk this to them. This game is a banger.
Dude, it's so fun.
It's so good.
Someone said like, "What's the point if you can't lose?" And someone said like, "It's fun," and I'm like, "Yeah, like it's a fun
it's
game.
fun.
Like it's fun to go for the high score. I like that you unlock materials. If you do want this to be competitive, there is Dorfromantic the Duel coming. It's in German
that right?
now. It's a 2-player version where you are trying to have the high score, so that you can play that
Interesting.
version. I saw like a couple pictures of it. It seems really interesting. There's like tiles you can task where it's like village or forest. You can choose where it goes and stuff. So that'd be cool. But I love just unlocking materials for the game. I just want to sit over a weekend and play through this damn thing.
Yeah, me too.
I really do.
Yeah, I think it's outstanding. You played Earth.
I did. We did.
You put it on your thing. I guess you played it on BGA at some point. We didn't play it physically.
I have no idea.
You were playing on Earth. I saw you playing one. Mike
I was
played
playing
Earth,
with Jared on. Yeah, it was on BGA.
and you hate it. Love it.
I still enjoy it.
Cool.
It is cooled off, but I enjoy
Yes.
it. I enjoyed it.
But
It's not.
good.
It's not the when we first played. I was like, this is game of the year for sure. I don't think it. I'm not saying it won't be on the list, but I don't. It's not in contention for #1 anymore.
No.
But it's good.
We played Evacuation Game. We played with our good friend Shabo Bay.
We played the points mode because we've been playing the race mode, and points mode for us
Is
at
for
least will be the way to go.
Yes, for me.
Because there's goals you can go for,
I like
so
the
that gives
goals.
you some focus. You want to get all your production values as high as you can, but now
Yeah.
it's like if you get them all built up evenly, which like Nick crushed, you can get a lot of points that way. So I just feel like
it's better.
it's more. Nick and I need like.
I like goals.
Credit for what we did in
Yeah.
the game. Like I want to like know even if I lose, I was like, well, I did these things. I worked really hard. I used my feeble brain to do some stuff, and I want to be like see the fruits of my labor. And in the race mode, it's just like you have 7 production here, you lose. And I was like, that doesn't feel good.
Yeah, it's just more interesting.
So yeah.
Yeah. It's just more interesting in my opinion. But play both ways. It's fine. I really like
Both points are
Evacuation.
great, but the points one, I was just like, yes, like
Yes.
this is more juicy, and you're doing exactly the same things
Yeah,
in the game.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like Evacuation a lot. I think
Yeah.
it's outstanding. You played Get On Board?
I did play New York and London on BGA with the Foster the Meeple folks. Handle it, crushed. It's such a fun game, man.
It's really good.
I love it. I love the new version. They're just fantastic roll and write adjacent games.
Yeah.
Where you're putting a little route through New York or London and trying to not double back on yourself because you'll lose. As your little bus goes around, you're trying to see all the different sites, pick up people along the way, and just build a really nice route for yourself. It's based on Let's Make a Bus Route. And these versions are just fantastic.
Yeah, they're really good. I like them a lot.
Love them a lot.
I played La Granja with Shabo Bay again after we finished streaming.
Master
We wanted to
sets.
play something. You were busy with the Babu,
Yeah,
but
y'all were just hanging out in my house, and I wasn't
like, I really
involved.
wanna
I
play
actually thought that was super cool. I was like, yeah, I got friends
yeah,
here.
I was like,
I'm not doing
they're
anything
just
with
in the
them.
garage playing
Just
games.
hanging out.
We played La Granja. I got to teach it to Shay, and this game is incredible. This is a newer version of La Granja. It's got 4 use cards where every card has 4 uses. Trying to decide how to use it is so interesting.
It's awesome.
You only get to play a certain amount of cards in the game, so trying to maximize that. We played base. We didn't play with any of the expansions because it was his first time learning the game, and so I was just like, we'll just play this. It's so good. La Granja is a freaking masterpiece, and I'm excited to try more of the modules because all the ones we played I've really enjoyed.
Really excited to try more.
Yeah,
Really excited to try
just
more.
it's so good.
Rosie, I fully disassociated when Nick was asking about Earth. I was just like, I've never played that.
You put on the list, so hey.
Never played that.
We got to play Heat again. We
Finally
played
got to
this
play IRL.
at 4 players.
Got to play it correctly.
Yes, we played it correctly.
Which, guess what? Game's a lot better when you play it right.
Mostly, yeah. Because we were kind of like, the game was fine. We played it at PAX Unplugged last year, which PAX Unplugged just happened at the time of recording. So it was like a year ago. And we liked it, but we didn't like love it. And then we pre-ordered it and then had to wait like 6 months for it to get here. Yeah. And then played it again. I'm like, oh, that's why people like Heat so much. It's really fun.
Super fun. Yeah, it's a classic racing game where you're trying to, on the straightaways, go as fast as you can. You got to slow it back down for those turns. But kind of whatever gear you're in determines how many cards you must play from your hand.
Yeah.
But some cards are like 0s and 1s and 2s. And so you could, in theory, go through a tight turn at a very high gear if you have the right cards at the right time. And then stay in that high gear so when you come out of the turn, you can just hit that thing. Yeah. And take it on the way. And it's just, that is really fun to play with.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
And we still haven't played with any of the weather effects, any of the car upgrade stuff. There's really a lot of content in this box, and we haven't gotten to any of it yet. Really enjoyed it. And once we figured out the turn structure correctly, we basically were doing each phase where like, Phase 2, everyone go. Phase 3, everyone go. And there's certain aspects like slipstreaming stuff that make no sense if you play it that way. And we realized when you're supposed to do your whole turn, then it became very easy. So that was nice.
Yeah, it's very, very good. It's very, very good. I played some more Hotbox and Victorium. I am slowly going through my campaign, although I had to pack it up because I had to learn. I know. We had to play Oathsworn.
Sorry about that.
Oathsworn takes up an entire table, and so I've been having Hotbox just sitting on my dining room table.
I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, you had to put that away.
I
that
did.
Sucks.
I saved it though, so I can come back to it.
Okay.
I still really like Hotbox and Victorium. It's a big chip theory game, solo only. You're going around different regions, getting into fights, playing some King of the Hill, trying to fight the big silent at the very end. I really enjoy it. You just build out your hero gets cooler as you go, you build out your troop people, the game kind of gets harder as you go.
Yep.
It's just really good. I really enjoy it. It's a giant solo game.
Yeah. Music Man, we're going to get to our Q&A here in a second.
Yes, but we'll answer that question.
I don't find Heat finicky at all.
No, not at all. We finally got to play Milfiore again.
We did.
Also with Shabo Bay.
This is an awesome game. Another Reiner Knizia one where you're scoring points every turn, you're playing cards out and putting a diamond into an area. You did Super Crush. I forgot after I first played how bad I am at this game. Depending on what the type of card you play, you're going to put a diamond into that area of the city, and each of them score slightly differently. One of them you're trying to build like these little pyramids of diamonds, and you get bonus points if you match the image that's on your card to the image of where you're placing. Another one you're trying to build like a big old group of your things. This other one, the residential, you're trying to like build a chain of yours in a row without anyone else interrupting that row, all sorts of things like that. And there's many ways to essentially get a bonus turn where at the end of my turn, I did this thing, so I triggered this bonus turn, I take another turn right now, and Nick hit some, and you can chain those together too. Nick hit some combos where I was just like, dude, this guy's going forever.
Yeah, y'all let me have the pyramids area. Basically, just on my own. I basically ran the table with it.
It was good. Let him run away with it, and it was not smart.
I really like this game. It's got a great look.
Beautiful.
It was fun to play at 3. We've only played it at 2. 2 is
definitely
good.
better at 3.
Definitely better at 3.
Yeah, you want a little more going on with people doing stuff.
It's very good.
Yeah,
it's very, very good.
Fantastic.
You played My Shelfie?
I did. Again, played with Foster and Meeple folks. I believe Jamie crushed, if I remember correctly. I love this game, man.
Yeah.
I love it. It's just got some great, even on BGA, it's got the Connect 4, you're dropping tiles in and trying to build up your shelves well. It's just got great kind of toy value.
Yeah. Great gimmick.
But great gimmick, but it works really well in Phil Walker Harding, Matt Dunstan. Puzzly, praise be. You know how it is.
It's pretty great. You played Nana?
Play some Nana, dude.
Freaking love Nana so much.
It's so great.
I love Nana so much.
It's just Gamers Go Fish, a little memory game. We played it over Thanksgiving weekend. We had some friends over and stuff. It's just really fun to try to suss out who has what in their hands and create 3 sets. So basically you can ask people what their highest or lowest card is. They must reveal it. If you get all 3 of the ones out, without drawing, someone else, the wrong card out, essentially, you get to collect that set of ones and stuff, and you can ask yourself. So if you have the ones, you can be like, Mike, what's your lowest card? But you always have to ask only the lowest or highest card. So if you have like a 7 or something, it's going to be hard because it's not likely to be at the lowest or highest card you have, but they are kind of more valuable. Great game.
It's insane. Insanely good.
So good.
You've been soloing some Miranda Burger Canal.
Ooh, man, it's so good, man. I showed it to my buddy Jimmy as well.
This
is one that, like, as you can see, maybe not the prettiest game, not the wettest of themes for sure.
It's pretty dry,
but mechanically, I like what you're doing in this game so much, and the timing of everything.
Yeah,
this is a game where you're just building out canals. And you're just basically putting these structure cards. You want to get certain pathways around them to trigger when they kind of go off, and you don't want to have the right resource to turn in for points and stuff. It is so just tasty on a mechanical level.
Yeah, only on that level.
And only on that level, but I don't care because I like that so much. The Dice Tower trashed this game so hard, and I'm like, you all are so wrong.
You're so wrong.
Also, probably not, because I think probably a lot of people are like, gross, it looks awful. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't care.
Good. It's so good.
So
I think
fun.
it's a freaking masterpiece.
So good. So good. You will see in our top games of the list here.
You played some Point City?
I did. Yeah, I showed this to Jimmy again. Fantastic, quick little city tableau builder. Got the Splendor vibes of, like, you start generating permanent resources, which makes it easier to build those higher level cards. As you go through the deck, you go from like arrow 1 to 2 to 3, so there's like that natural progression.
Yep.
But you've also built out your infrastructure. This game is just fantastic. Flat Out is just crushing it. There's also a Cascadia roller right coming.
I heard about that. I heard about
Come
that.
on now.
I know.
Give me it right now.
Get out of my face.
God, I can't wait to cover that next year. Let's go.
We finally got to play it again. It's been so long.
You are the light.
So our friend Jimmy will come over and hang out.
So
he always comes with a list of games he wants to play.
We got through a lot this time.
We got through a lot, and Prodigal's Club has been on that list for like a year and a half, probably. Like,
it was one of the first entries.
Very long time.
And I knew on this trip, like, we have to make it.
It keeps not getting played. So if you don't know, I love this game. This is a game where you're trying to be a big old D-bag, basically. You're trying to lose an election, lose all your friends, lose all your money. Because
Crick don't know nothing about it. Michael C. don't know
Michael C. don't know anything.
He wasn't invited.
And this is a game where you have those 3 tracks where you're trying to lose your friends, lose your money, lose an election, and whatever the highest value of that, which is bad, that's your score. And so you have to do all 3, and you don't want points in the game. And this game is usually in my top 5 all time when we do our list, and I think this probably cemented it there for at least a little while longer. I've been a while. Love this game.
It's so fun.
I don't know how much. Crook in chat, did you like this game? I don't think Jimmy liked it that much.
I never gotten a vibe that Jimmy likes anything. Like, he's just very, very even keel across the board. So I do not know if he did or not. It could be he's like, it's an all-time game or not, and you will not know any difference.
This game is generally my top
reaction.
5. I really, really, really love this game. I think it's so much fun. It's so stressful because you're trying to get all the way down these tracks, and you just never feel like you can, but you kind of pull it off at the end of it. It's just, I love this game. It's one of my favorite games of all time.
Crook confirms liked it. My guess is for Jimmy, my guess is it'll be a thing where it's like there's one too many things going on.
That's fair.
Because he does get to a point where it's just like, it's just too many things, which is not unfair at all.
So yeah, Prodigal's Club, I think it's a masterpiece.
Mary Lou Zen, I saw your text earlier, your messages here about PAX. We missed you all so much.
Indeed.
And Stacey Everdell, if you were here, we didn't make it to PAX this year, unfortunately. So I'm sorry you were looking around for us.
We weren't there.
You were never going to find us. We weren't on that side of the country.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
We played Scars of Tigris again recently. We played this again because it had been quite a while. And we're going to be doing our top 10 games of the year this week. And so we're like, we got to play Scars again to see if it's on the list, where it's on the list, all that kind of stuff. And I was reminded, oh yeah, that's right. I freaking love Scars of the South Tigris.
It's real good, man.
It is maybe my second favorite.
We had a 1-point game. Nick edged it out by 1 point. I was so
wild?
Bummed.
Yeah. We're on a roll this month, y'all.
Nick's on a heater right now. Scholars South Tigris is really fun. It is crunchy. There are some people who said, like, this is going to be too crunchy for me with the way you can mitigate dice and the colors and the values of those dice and stuff. But I really, really love getting to play around with that stuff. I think it's so fantastic. There's these workers that you can put onto dice to essentially change their color, change the value, and the 2 different dice you put, you can blend those to make a secondary color like green out of yellow.
So crunchy.
And blue. Yeah, it's really fun. Really, really like it. You're trying to transcribe different scrolls from different languages into Arabic and stuff, and this kind of pursuit of knowledge, which the South Tigris trilogy
It's all about
is
that.
focused, in this time in the Middle East and stuff, where like there were these great advancements in science, and there was all this. They learned, they figured out how to figure out like the circumference of the Earth and stuff, just using math and all that. So I love the setting and the theming of these games where it's about like not conquest, but like mental conquest and like learning and stuff, which is really, really cool.
Yeah,
So,
it reminded me. I was like, oh, that's right. Like Wayfarer's my favorite Garfield game. This might be my number 2. I really like it a lot.
Good, dude.
Yeah, I very much enjoy it.
Yeah.
I played Sky Team. I played
We
Sky
gotta
Team.
play other airports.
I
man.
know. I
Just keep showing it to new people, so you play the base airport.
I introduced this to a new person, so we played the
try
base
more.
airport, and it's really fun.
cool.
This is a game where it's a 2-player cooperative game where you are trying to land a plane together. One of you is the pilot, one of you is the co-pilot. You can do different stuff, and you have to approach at a certain speed. You can't go too fast. You can't overshoot the airport. You got to get other planes out of the way by shooting them down. And so
Imagine it's like co-pilot's like I'm armed with missiles. Like, excuse me.
and they got to land and stuff like that. I think this game is so much fun. I think it's an absolute banger of a co-op game.
Awesome game.
And we still haven't tried any of the other airports.
Probably should.
Although I did look up the rules for the next one, which is Heathrow. And basically, there's going to be traffic. So certain rounds, you have to roll this black die, and that black die
Is like
will
add planes?
add planes because there's traffic. Because it's a really busy airport. And I was like, oh, that sounds horrible. So, sounds wild.
That's great. I
Sky
love
Team's
that.
great, though. Play So Clover, as we always do in Friends Are Over, because it's an incredible game.
Dude, I think you had left, but we, as a parent now, we just became teenagers for a brief moment in time on like that Saturday night. I think you'd left, and then we started playing So Clover at like 12:30 at night. And then we were all like, we're kind of hungry, so we got chips out. We're just sitting like in the living room on the floor, eating chips and playing this board game as if we don't have a child who's a ticking time bomb waiting to wake up at 5:50 in the morning.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Yeah.
It felt like we were just like going back to high school when like there was no, like, who cares?
You had
what time
no
you're up?
responsibilities, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that in a beautiful way. And it was just like an awesome moment, and it felt so nostalgic in its way. We're just sitting around having chips. All of us are like, we're gonna have to take Tums after this. Like, we're
Real
gonna
talk.
be ill. Like, I'm gonna have heartburn. But like, for
Worth it.
that moment, didn't even matter, and
Yeah.
it was awesome. It was very freeing.
So Clover's a word association game. It's one of the best out
It's
there.
so good. It's so good. Play that game.
I played Sweet Mess. I played this after I played that Ring of Chaos. I already forgot the name. With Paula and Monique from Before You Play. And I really like Sweet Mess. It's a good game where you're making like pastries and stuff. It's kind of in that like Gateway Plus, but super overproduced and pretty game that I think is very nice. And I really like Sweet Mess a lot. I'm looking forward to getting it once. I don't know if it's out yet, but if it is,
I think it's soon. If not, I think it's soon.
And so we've covered this game before. I still really enjoy it.
Yeah,
I
watch our
think it's-
playthrough
I think
if you're
it's
so
good.
keen. That's it. Barely any games at all.
Barely any
What a
games.
month that was.
56 games.
That was our first like really big game month since maybe
like
March, I guess.
Dice Tower, yeah, basically.
Yeah, wow.
And yeah, so that is all right. So we'll do a quick Q&A. I'll kind of scroll back through
So
the
real quick,
chat.
Crook's asking, Steve's asking about Crook live in San Diego. Crook likes it so much he's moving to Sacramento next year.
Boom,
That's what I heard.
exactly.
That's what I heard.
So yeah, if you have any questions, we'll do a quick Q&A here at the end here. So drop some questions in chat.
Zen, did you have a good PAX Unplugged? We were so sad to not be able to make it, but we're hoping that this will be the last year that we'll have to miss because it's just too fantastic of a con for us to miss. We love it too much.
I think we answered this already, but said, does the art project play well solo? I would assume so. I think we answered that already.
Yeah,
but
I think it should.
because it's just a puzzle ultimately. I don't think we have that many questions. But,
Yeah, but if there's anything out there, hit us with it. It's okay if there's not.
well-
We just like to check through. We try to focus on, talking about these games.
For people
'cause
watching this
that takes
after
us
the
long
fact,
enough. Jacob Collier's Moon River arrangements, incredible. Jacob Collier is such an incredibly talented musician, man.
Who is that?
He's this young British dude, and he's just like
Okay.
insanely musically literate.
What does that mean?
He's just really skilled at like understanding like
He's
musical
playing the tuba
concepts.
and
No,
and the
it's
drums
like
at the same time?
it's like doing just he understands music in a wonderful way. It's not just about like I can play a guitar good.
So he's playing like a clarinet backwards?
Yeah, exactly. He sucks
He's like
it in.
screaming in the open end.
Not many people do that, man. I don't know how to explain
He just gets music, man.
No, he does. He does. He just understands like concepts and stuff, and he does a good job of like explaining it to like lay people like us. He did like one thing where he's explaining like a certain thing like different levels, like beginner, and getting more and more advanced with it and stuff, and it was just so cool.
Fascinating,
and when he breaks it down into the simpler things, like I can understand that version, but he's way over here in this other stratosphere.
Evan asked, I believe this was for Oathsworn, said it makes it simulate a fight more like expecting
Being
an
able
attack.
to count those cards rather than rolling dice. I do agree with that. I think
on top of that, their attack is telegraphed. Like you know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
They have a stage card that's face up, which is really nice. So it is more about kind of mitigating what's going to happen. And yeah, like I like the cards in Oathsworn because you could. I was reading some posts about it. People were like, "Yeah, I really like the dice," and then I rolled horribly a couple of times and immediately went back to the cards. And I'm like, I could see that happening.
I like the dice for the speed and
yes.
cleanliness of like I roll this many crits, grab many more dice and roll them. But you are right, like you are probably advantaged with the cards because you can know like I don't think it's gonna be a very good roll.
Well, they literally say like
better.
They say you could roll dice for the enemies, but please use the cards because it'll be a much more balanced game.
Interesting.
They say that rule like you can roll for the like use the cards, it'll be more balanced. But you could roll for the enemies too.
Yeah, right on. I think Dads and Dice said they picked up Silver and Gold. Yeah, that game is also awesome. And the Pyramids, if and when it comes out, I mean, I'm sure it will, is it's very cool. You got your answer about the Isle of Man flag, man.
Oh, I did? Oh, yeah.
It's a Triskelion.
Composed of 3 armored legs with golden spurs. It's the motto of the Isle of Man is whatever you throw at us, we shall stand. Wherever you shall throw us, we shall stand too. So I guess that's the whole leg thing. Okay. Interesting flag.
Very cool.
Have you guys played Karen yet? We have not. Although I think Shove It Down really like that game.
Okay.
I like the concept of Karens. One of my favorite artists makes Karens all the time.
I don't know what that is.
A Karen is like it looks like an egg. It basically you use it to usually mark trails. So you put it like if you're in like walking, like there's a lot up in like the Sierra Mountains, kind of like on the trails we used to go for hiking, and basically like especially like Sierras where you're basically just walking over big rocks.
Yeah, there's people with like a little stack of rocks.
That's a Karen. It's basically you also put them over grave sites a lot of times and stuff like that.
You've always liked nature art like that.
Yeah. One of my favorite artists, a gentleman named Andy Goldsworthy, he makes Karens a lot. It's one of my favorite.
Okay, I didn't know that's what the name of that was.
But I have not played that game.
Duck for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe because egg.
A mallard. You can't make a duck out of Karens.
There you go. Got him.
Sorry, just
getting hyped for this one. I think in reference to Oranienburger Canal. You
yes.
should. It's really great. There is a new version coming out from another publisher just called Canal with a K. That will have better
called Canal
art.
with a K.
Yeah, better. Yeah, that's the name of it.
Yeah.
Canal, comma with a K.
But with a canal still spelled with a C,
thing.
so it's even weirder.
I don't care.
Yeah.
The theme.
We'll see if we get the new one. I honestly don't know if we want to buy a whole new one.
I want to be like those people like I've got the original German. You understand? They don't need your highfalutin production
on Google Translate. Have you guys streamed this? I think I was talking about Prodigals Club. No,
not in a while anyway.
Are going to be live streaming on YouTube starting in the new year, and one of the main things we're planning on doing is
playing like those types of games.
Playing games that frankly aren't worth us. I talked about this in depth last Rap Reviews. Go watch that more. Basically, there's certain games that won't get enough views to make it worth our time.
It's a labor-intensive process, the editing and stuff, to do the full-on game houses. But our streams, which are going to resemble more game houses in terms of their production value, we want to focus on some of those games because as much as we are compelled to cover brand new games because publishers will pay us to cover their brand new games, and ain't no one paying for Prodigals Club coverage.
It sure ain't. CG, hit us up.
We want to cover that stuff, and so this is going to be a way for us to do that. So stay tuned on the new year. We'll try to make a mental note of that to play that one
Prodigals Club is one of the ones I want to play really badly.
It's such a good game.
Yeah.
And it's so crunchy and has such a hilarious theme. It's just great. It's just great.
It's very good. I think you answered it. Yes, and we are planning on going to Dice Tower West as of now, at least.
Yes, we have an Airbnb and everything. We're all set.
When are you moving? I go up to Sac all the time too. That's where my bro lives. Mary Lee, you're always where we are. I love it. Are
you for real? You go to Sac every so often?
That's
We're gonna be moving
probably between May and July, somewhere in there, right?
Yeah, somewhere in there. I would say it's probably June or July, most likely. Okay. Nick and I will probably be starting to get our studio up there
in like April-ish.
There's It'll depend on when and exactly how quickly this house sells and stuff like that. So, but it won't be earlier than May. Won't be earlier than May.
No, for sure not. Have you guys pulled out any holiday favorites? No. We haven't played Gingerbread House. We always play around this time of year. We have not played it. So no, we have not pulled out any holiday, what I would consider like a holiday favorite game.
We also have Holly Jolly, which is like a little card game, but I wanted that Santa's Workshop, the Elf Creek game, so bad.
Yeah, so we have not yet, although would Sky Team or First Flight be easy to learn for new gamers or family? I actually think Sky Team is pretty simple.
Yeah. It's just a dice placement game, and like,
First Flight's probably a little more complex.
Sure. Sky Team would be great though. It's easy to understand in terms of like where you can place your dice, what you need to place. It's all very well labeled and laid out for you. I would definitely start with that. And plus, it gives you escalating difficulty with missions. So the base one is going to be more straightforward to kind of get you into it, and then you can add layers of complexity to it. So that's really nice.
Is there a game you're aiming to get played during the holidays no matter what? Ooh. We were determined to do a game house for Star Wars Rebellion before the end of the year. I'm pretty confident saying that's not going to happen. I would like to play that before the end of the year, though.
We could probably do that. Because
we need to play at least once before we record.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, I would like to play that by the end of the year. That has nothing to do with the holidays. It's just when I want to get played because we want to do a Game House episode for that soon.
Yeah, there are.
But that's kind of it. Maybe a couple other, like, games from this year.
There's a number of games that have been, like, on the shelf for a while, like the Fox Experiment, which I'm like excited to try.
Yeah.
We just haven't. So like maybe some of that, we'll use some of that time just like to play some of the stuff that's been sitting around for a while.
We have a really busy month though, so hopefully we have some time to kind of just chill and play games. We do have a really busy month though.
Yeah. Once we get to
So we'll see.
Christmas,
But that's the main one. I really want to play Star Wars Rebellion before the end of the year.
What's the schedule for this week? So Steve, we have this right now.
If you're watching this after the fact, it is December 4th.
December 4th as of this recording. Happy December, everybody. We had Oorn drop yesterday. Top 10 games of the year is going to drop, I think, this Thursday.
Thursday is the plan.
So that'll be the 7th of...
Tomorrow we have a 12-hour marathon on Twitch.
We have a 12-hour marathon on Twitch, our farewell to Twitch live stream, so please do come check that out.
Yes, indeed.
We'll be live from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to be playing a whole mess of games, so that's pretty much the plan, is top 10 games of the year, marathon stream, and this right now.
Yeah. Vicky asked, have you guys played Ezra and Nehemiah recently? I'm so excited for the game. We have played. We actually covered it, so you can watch a playthrough of it. Yeah. I really, really like it. I don't know where. I think it's about middle of the pack for me for Garfield games. Maybe a little higher. But I really, really enjoy it. Here's the thing. Middle of the pack for Garfield games, though, is like an excellent game. At this point, I think it's like middle, slightly maybe above middle of the pack for me in terms of Garfield games. I do really, really enjoy it, though.
I don't know. My inclination is to say the same, but again, that's not a diss in any way.
No,
it's so
not at all.
It's so good.
Bottom of the pack is still a good game if it's Garfield games.
They're just on fire, man. It's really something else. Yeah, it's really something else. Evan posted way back up, so reposting it here.
Oh, thank you for reposting
it. Retheme a game you love. What would it be, and what would you change to? Example, Ark Nova, but fantasy animals, which I would love that. I
don't know. There's always that kind of like, what would you retheme something as?
I'm trying to think of a game that like I enjoy, but the theme kind of like, I don't know.
It just doesn't matter, or like, yeah, I don't know. Honestly, like, because I've found, even like say a Brandenburg Canal, like, sure, I wish that had a more interesting theme on it, but that game is going to be dry. So often it's like, it's just because like the games are themeless and they just put a boring theme on it. So my thing is like, take any game that's like pretty themeless and just put a more interesting theme on it. We don't need to be in like Renaissance area France. Like make it Surfasaurus Max, you know? It's just like, to me, it's like take any themeless game and make the theme more interesting. That's honestly my answer, because other than that, I made a joke way back a long time ago now on This Game Is Broken, our podcast, that I want to see Blood Rage rethemed to Mean Girls.
Why not?
Boom.
That's my official answer. That you talked about and stuff, we're going to make like a video about this hopefully, is like Kalimala, which is again straight up Europe stuff.
So boring.
It's like you're only collecting resources. Nice. So Nick just said like set it in a bakery or something. It's like you can be collecting stuff to make baked goods,
sprinkles. And
all that. And I'm like, that would be awesome.
I'm excited for our retheme of La Havre that's coming up this year.
Yeah, we're gonna do La Haunt.
I'm
We're
going to
make
keep
a
putting
video
it out
about
there
that.
because then we have to do it.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. So stuff like that, but I don't have like a great answer.
Yeah, my answer is just make themes more interesting if the game has no theme.
Yeah, which a lot of the games we like, you could just put whatever you want on it. It
Yeah, exactly. Gingerbread House time? Yeah, Gingerbread House is coming up soon. Steve said, love Goldsworthy's work. Steve, I figured you would know and like Andy. I love Andy Goldsworthy.
Greg says, it's been covered many times, I'm sure, but what game table are you using? It looks slick. This is a game...
An Origins game table.
Game theory table.
Yes.
So if you search that, you'll find it. Origins game theory table.
Yeah, it's the Origins table.
They make a lot of
tables.
poker tables, and they've kind of delved into board game
BBO
tables now.
poker tables is the bigger of the company, but they've now moved into board game tables as well. I'm sure it's been covered many times, but so you already said this. Sorry. How many times do you guys play a game before you decide you want to buy it? Sometimes it's been one playthrough for me. We're pretty free and loose when it comes to buying games. We buy games blind a decent amount.
Yeah, if
we
it
have
looks
pretty
interesting.
good barometers over whether or not we're going to like something.
Yeah, we haven't. I can't think of like a recent time where we've bought a game and it's been a complete miss.
No.
We are also in a position with like what we do where we have a lot of games provided to us by publishers.
Yeah.
So if it's a game that we're going out to get, it's usually something that I'm like interested in specifically. Yeah. So we do a lot of blind buying, but I'm also very much like if I play it once and enjoy it, like we played Volonimo, right? That bike racing game. I really liked it. I saw it was on sale. Boom. Bam. Bought it straight up. No questions asked. Yeah. So we're between 0 and 1 because frankly we don't get a chance to play most games more than once or twice.
We don't have the ability to play games like 5 times before we buy it. We just don't.
So if I hear good things from people and there can be people who have similar tastes and we know our own tastes and stuff, we can usually go off instinct pretty good.
We're pretty good about just,
and we're willing to do that because we're like, well, if nothing else, we can make a video or it's gonna get content.
And it's like if we don't love it, whatever.
It's a business.
I don't love every movie I watch.
It's free, right? That's how business
sure.
Work, I think.
It said, so have you tried the new expansion for Boone Lake? We have not. We have not had a chance to get it.
Look, we're way up here.
I'm
with the
so
you can't even see my hands. I'm so excited. They're way up there.
Exactly. Would you both give a tentative ordering of your favorite Garfield games? We get this question a lot. I don't know.
Wayfarers number 1. Wayfarers of the South Tigris.
If I'm going just off of gut right now, I'm going to go Wayfarers, Scholars, probably the new Shipwrights, if I'm being completely honest.
Man.
Viscounts might be above Shipwrights. Maybe Ezra and Nehemiah, Architects, Paladins. And I'm going off of that whole series, I guess, because I'm forgetting all like the legacy of the ancient anthology games. No, I guess Legacy U's up there.
Man,
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Wayfarers, Paladins, Scholars, South Tigers, Viscounts, Ezra, and Nehemiah. That's what I got for the top 5 right now off my head.
Sure. It's hard to do that.
It can change any day. It's kind of the real answer is kind of like whatever you're playing at the moment is the best.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're really that great. Wayfarers is
my number 1 for sure.
So good.
Any special guests on the 12-hour stream? No, I'm sure Bobby will pop in, Karen might pop in, but it's just us. It's not going to be this whole big thing. We're just like, we're going to keep it pretty chill, and that'll be it.
The candy and things.
So need another Too Many Bones playthrough. Your video convinced me to pick it up, and now I've already bought the base game and 2 more gear locks. Let's go.
Nice.
Hey, talk to Chip Theory Games. They want us to cover it more.
Let Chip Theory know.
We have Undertow and the base game, so we could technically play more.
We could do more. Castle of Ron Burgundy.
Any games you think good in car for a road trip with family with kids? Palm Island, because you can play in the palm of your hand.
You can just hold that in like...
Numbsters.
You could do the same. You can hold it in your hand.
A car is hard because you don't have any kind of surface to play on.
Well, in theory, like what... It's got me thinking. There's probably some sort of thing... If it doesn't exist, it should, unless it's like a danger, which I don't know about.
I mean, you can always get like a TV tray.
Yeah, it can be between the two in the back, and you can play a little something on there.
I think about road trips. We should get a little TV tray.
We should.
Because you could just have it there and be playing solo games while you're in the back seat.
It's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea. Let's market that, Mike. We have $1 billion.
I like that.
Hi guys, what's up, Barb? Said I need ideas to play games in my class with 10 to 11-year-olds. I appreciate games where they have to use their math skills, but could use with some words or reading. Oh, chat, help us out with that. 10 to 11-year-olds. So idiots. So
code names can be good for kind of thinking of like connections to words.
Oh gosh, math. I like the idea of doing math skills. something. I mean, one thing I think about games is it makes them do quick math.
Cribbage, man.
Cribbage. That's only 2. Well, I guess you can play with more.
Yeah, it's not a big group game, but I mean, if you want like quick
Barb,
addition
I'm not
skills.
sure.
I'm trying to think of things that will. You got to do some quick additions. We have to think on that. If anyone has any thoughts, or if you're watching this later, drop a comment. And just say, "Hey, Barb, this game."
I would say paperback is a good one because they have to
Spelling
make
stuff.
words,
Yep.
which is a good word one.
Yeah.
Word games are probably easier. I feel like there's not that many games other than just like basic addition and maybe subtraction that you have to do. There's not that many like mathy games.
Nothing I can think of. I mean, one is like it does a little bit in the end is like King Domino. So you're having some spatial stuff. You're building out your little 5x5 grid, but at the end of the game, you're gonna look at like how many squares like large is this area? Oh, it's 6. How many crowns do I have in the area? 3. 6 times 3 is your score. So you have to do a little bit of multiplication at the end. It's not throughout the game, but that might be a cool thing to get them to think of while they play, like, okay, and maybe you do that. Like, if I add this and stuff, now what's your score in this area? Maybe have them all keep a tally as they go, so they're kind of continually mathing. That might be kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
Yeah.
Riz,
I just wanted to hear that I get to see Babu. You'll definitely get to see her.
she'll pop in at some point, I'm sure. Any games you're particularly excited for in 2024? Unconscious Mind? Probably Unconscious Mind.
Yeah.
I don't know what's coming out in 2024. I can't even keep track of what's coming out this year. I have no idea what's coming out next year.
I don't either. But
So-
Unconscious Mind will be a great one. We have our pre-production copy still there. We need to send back. But I like that. I like that game a lot. I'm excited to see the finished product, especially because I don't know if anything will change much mechanically. But that game was cool, so definitely would be stoked to play that again.
What's your favorite gear lock? I don't know. We haven't played enough to really. I mean, I'm gonna say Figment because I've played Figment by far the most.
I'll say Gale for the same reason.
Exactly. Other than that, I don't have a favorite because I haven't played enough of them, or any of them more than once really, other than Figment.
Outnumbered in King Domino. Okay, Diana, so we agree. King Domino. Outnumbered too. Yeah, there you go.
Draftosaurus. Draftosaurus is a good one. Not so for math, but just I guess for math because it's like.
You got to figure out your score for each area.
But on top of that, like also drafting games are good because it makes you think in kind of multiple directions.
Yeah. Hadrian's Wall is my top 3. Garfield for sure. Right on. Yeah. My only thing with Hadrian's Wall is I just prefer to play it solo.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't hit the table as often as
No.
a result.
All right, fam. If there's any more last minute questions here, hit us up. If not, we'll get on out of here. Thank you so much for being here. Again, we're going to have our top 10 games of the year come out on Thursday. Is the plan as of now. If you're
Absolutely.
watching this live, we will be doing a 12-hour marathon over on Twitch tomorrow, starting at 8 a.m. Pacific time.
We'll be starting to stream over here weekly,
Probably
probably
the New
on
Year.
Thursdays in the new year.
Yeah, that's
so
the plan.
Yeah, we're gonna get a couple things set up here so that we can try to make our streams kind of as slick as possible and stuff. But please come hang out with those for those because like this whole thing right here, we're chit chatting with people and stuff is our favorite thing we do out of all the stuff we do. So we would love to see you there. Slivers out here giving hearts. We are gonna play Monster Hunter World in honor of Slivers tomorrow. That's
right.
One of the games. That's all you get to hear from now.
With
One of the games
potentially a painted monster.
Ooh, baby, let's go. That's going to be awesome. So join us at 8 a.m. on Twitch for the last time.
For whatever the
One last time.
All right, fam. We love you all to death. Have a great rest of your day. And we will get on out of here. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you later. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah, 2.5 hours.